5:03. Kelly, are we online?
Yes.
We are? Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to resolve into the committee of the whole. Recommendation that council resolve itself into the committee of the whole at 5:04. So I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, second by Councillor McCabe. All in favor? Great, thank you. All right, so recreation update for the summer of 2021, the staff report. And so Jamie, you have the floor. You give us the skinny on all the recreation stuff going on. Thanks, Jamie.
So thank you for letting me come back. It's been a long time since I've been here at council. So I'm just going to be very brief because I know you've had a long day today. So I just want to touch base on a couple of items that are moving forward for recreation. First of all, we're extremely happy to be on the downhill slide of COVID-19. Our sector. It's been a very hard hit sector for the last 16 months, but we're muddling our way through. So we're going to go back. With the relaunch program that came out at the end of May, it gave us a lot of hope, and it gave us the opportunity to be able to actually increase the amount of programs we were able to offer. Last year, we were very limited on spaces, what size we can gather. So this year, we're actually very excited to say that we've actually added quite a bit of new programming for the summer months, which I've never been able to do before. Those ones just on the kids clubs starting and on the events, and with no events, that we're been focusing on other programming. That being said, two of our most popular programs are back this year, our Summer Kids Club program, as well as our local Red Cross swim lessons, which we desperately needed back because we missed out last year due to COVID and because we had a month long of abnormal high water. So I'm very pleased to say that we have hired back 2 of our instructors from previous years. So Samantha Cole will be back with us with our Summer Kids program, and Cindy Bear will be back as our swim instructor. We've hired 2 local university students through Canada Summer Jobs as well to join our crew. So we'll be introducing Sunny Pickup as well as Shayna Hall to our group. Both of them come with excellent references, and both of them have quite a diverse background. 3 out of my 4 instructors are all double dogwood graduates. So they bring a lot of expertise to the table and a lot of different skills. And Mr. Young Pickup is also a certified lifeguard. So if our swim instructor is away for some reason or is ill, we have a backup swim instructors to make sure that none of our lessons are missed out with that. So COVID-19, what has it meant for Sicamous recreation? Well, as you guys have seen with all the building developments, there's a lot of new people in our community, and a lot of young families, and a lot of real active individuals. And so I just did what we call a Hail Mary, and I threw it out to the first university weeks ago, and asked if there are any of these new people coming from special schools. With that, I had some conversations and set up some programs for some seniors through active aging. Lisa Parr is a certified and trained active aging coach. I have a lady by the name of Shannon Weiner. She is a certified guide who will be doing some guided hikes for us in the month of August. I've reached out to Siobhan Rich, who will be willing to do some doggy obedience classes for us, which we've never offered before. Through a partnership with High Mountain, we have got some golf clinics taking place. We have 4 ladies currently golfing, and I have, I believe, 14 kids registered for junior golf clinics for the month of July. So I'm really excited that these programs come forward. Another Hail Mary throughout the opportunity to see if we can start a beach volleyball league, maybe a spike ball league. Interest isn't quite there yet, but that still might be the reluctancy of the COVID-19. So we'll just kind of keep stuff away and see if we can make those a go and just keep going and see what sticks against the wall. The other big thing that was brought to us in regards to COVID is a lot of our parents asked for an online booking platform, an online payment system. And so I took this step in the dark in January, and I applied to the Jumpstart program and received a grant for $15,000. So we purchased a software program called Amelia. This is also the same program that the town of Golden is using within the recreation department. It is very simple, very easy to use for families to register online. To date, as of today, as I left this afternoon, we have 59 accounts set up with 119 clients. And since we've gone live since June 14th, we have collected a total of $7,669.10 in recreation.
Oh, good.
So anyone have any questions?
Very good. That's good.
Right, Jamie. All right, questions from council. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. Through the chair. Way to be innovative. That's awesome. Gotta pivot, right? If we know anything.
Gord, go ahead.
Let's see the chair. Good work, Jamie. This is all thinking outside the box and, getting this, this computer program and everything. I know you felt a little bit bad that you weren't doing a lot while COVID-19 was going on, but you were working hard behind the scenes. So thank you.
Good job, Jamie.
Councilor McCabe.
Yeah, excellent job. Way to reach out to the community and get them involved in helping roll out some of the programs. So that's great.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to have quite a few really interesting conversations with Jamie over the last little while. Brings me up to speed all the time and gives me some sort of direction. Thank you, Jamie. You're doing a great job. The community appreciates it as well. Thank you. Any more from council? Thanks, Jamie. All right, so let's go on to strategic priorities. Anybody wish to have a comment or, and we talk to strategic right now? Gord?
Yeah, I just want to make note that the Quad Club applied to do a Section 57 grant, or not a grant, I mean, a trail application like we did for Owlhead.
Yeah.
And Quad Club was just notified that all Section 57s are going to be put on hold this year. And while they concentrate on getting all the parks up and running because they were shut down for COVID. So just, I don't know if Jen's received anything, but that's what all nonprofit groups and all that are being told. So just a heads up, maybe, I don't know if we're going to get a letter, the same letter, but all Section 57s are being put on hold.
All right, well, that's interesting.
That's not good.
Thanks, Gord. Anything else on it? Go ahead, Councilor Mamas.
Sorry, through the chair. Got to do with the rail trail. There's some interesting things that have been coming up that are to do with issues that are along the current rail trail and negotiations. And so I'm hopeful that Mayor and I will get on the road here to have some further discussions about possibilities for the rail trail within the District of Sicamous and the entire rail trail. Good. I meant to look online. Did anybody look online to find out how much they have in donations to date? Yeah. No.
Right, anything else on priorities? Community forest, we got a letter from Andrew supporting the new changes to the community forest program. And I think it's something that we should respond to. I sent a letter to our CEO in regard to that and supporting Enderby, and they wrote a letter to Finro as well. And so I think we need to respond and react and support the community forest on their behalf, because they're doing it on our behalf when we formed our partnership in the past. So direct staff to do that. So I don't think we need a resolution. Councilor Anderson, you have a comment?
I just want to go back to strategic priorities here. Number 13, regulating short-term rental industry bylaw development. On July 1st and 2nd, the district will be holding consultation at the Red Barn. Short-term rentals are impacting our community right now because people can't find places to live. So they can find jobs here, but they can't find places to rent or purchase. It's it's a busy rental town, which impacts our community because it brings everyone here for the summer and away for the winter. So if we can regulate that and maybe figure out how that would work best for Sicamous. So anyone that is interested, July the 1st and 2nd at the Red.
What time?
What time, Scott?
It's at 11, like 11 till 2, 11 till 3.
That's on a Friday and Saturday.
That's on Thursday and Friday.
First and second.
10 o'clock it starts. Sorry, Scott.
I think,
11.
Okay.
We will be sending out, the district's going to be sending out a note in the mail to all the residents, letting them know the time and location for sure, but
Okay, perfect.
heads up for those days.
All right, good. Anything else from council? All right, then we'll move on. It's councilor's report. So Mr. Aries, would you like to report first this week? I know I keep picking on you, right?
I was last for a long time. I've been really busy at work, so I haven't been doing much stuff. Been talking to a lot of people. There's a really positive air around town. It's a real pleasure to be in Sicamous as usual.
Thank you. Councilor Malmus.
Nothing to report at this.
Okay. Councilor Evans.
I got to go to the high school's last PAC meeting yesterday, and we're very blessed in BC that our kids got to go to school all year. My brother lives in Hamilton. His kids haven't been in school since October. I've got friends in Alberta and Calgary. The kids are pulled out and put in and pulled out and put in. So it was a good year, and our school did very well. And the kids, a lot more flexible than adults, I found out. And they've done very well on, when they come to the hub, for instance, they don't mind leaving their masks on when they're in a group, and the rest of us are like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. So kids set an example for us to remain flexible in life. And the principal and the teachers worked really hard this year, and they're tired, and I'm glad for their sake the school year's done. So go ahead.
Thanks, Bill. Councilor Bushel.
Through the chair, Colleen and myself and Scott and Sarah met for that short-term rental, just to review the public process and some of the ideas about short-term rental and what is happening in the community, what the difficulties it's causing the community. So yeah, it was a good meeting we had. And looking forward to the open house. So that's all. I've been a busy couple of weeks, so I haven't done much for the district.
I don't agree. Anyway, good on you, Councilor Bushel. Councilor Anderson, you're next.
I've done mine already. I snuck it in there with the
Okay.
strategic priorities.
Councilor.
Yeah, I don't have a report really. Just to let who's ever listening that we had a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation this morning. It was an in-camera meeting, but it was discussions about Bruin Bridge and four laning through our community. Just letting them know our concerns and some of the things we want to get out of the Bruin Bridge project. They actively support pedestrian bridge on Main Street, but not inside the scope of their project. That's for us to do on our own. They are willing to hook up the path on our bridge to our rail to trail, which is good to hear. Not sure how much I'm allowed to say about that because it's in camera. I'm sure that's fine. Short of that, on the agenda this evening, we have some topics around, we have a delegation coming from Senior Housing Society to move forward our affordable housing project that we're working in collaboration with the Housing Society on. That's about it.
Okay, thanks, Councilor McCabe. So I had the opportunity to go to Beach Park the other day, and there was I don't know, 24, 25 of the Spalatzin children. They were out swimming, and we had a little chat as to what their direction is in Sicamous, and it was just a part of building relationships with Spalatzin and the community, and it was their councillor Teresa Williams that brought the whole group here. So that was enjoyable to do that. So also had a really good conversation with Carly, our economic development coordinator, and she's really busy with different developers coming into town and conversations with ECDEV on a provincial basis and so forth. And this weekend, really important. We have given our dorm out to some of the umpires because there's, I think, 6 or 8 teams, women teams, fastball. Get out and watch these games because it is really, really good ball, and especially Jake DeWitt's daughter. I mean, this girl can really throw a ball, a softball that big, like a BB when it's coming in there after she releases it. So really, really good ball. And so get out and see that. That's all starting on Saturday. So looking forward to that as well. So that's pretty much report. Lots going on. A lot of conversations happening right now. Very busy, the group right now, including our staff with everything that's happening in Sicamous. All right, so that's my report. So out of the committee of the whole, there's a recommendation that committee of the whole now rise and report on this. Councillor Ayres, Councillor Evans, all in favor? Carried, thank you. So, Jen, public input. Do we have anybody with their hand up?
Is anybody on the line that'd like to speak to council at this time?
Nobody with their hand up?
Perhaps.
We are still going virtual, and we also now have the opportunity to have people come into the council chambers based on the new regulations. And so is there anybody here in a yellow shirt? Deb, you got the floor.
Real quick, I said last time I'd do a delegations type, but it looked like you had a very full agenda for today, so I backed off. So things are progressing in the communities in Bloom. I think you already know we do not have judges coming into the community. We're doing some virtual stuff with them. So I'm focusing mostly on our projects and stuff, but we're not going to have the dog people we show them coming into the community. So we're, focusing on other ways. So that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Deb, you're just doing an absolute fantastic job with Communities of Bloom. Once again, towns never looked better.
Take a look at the Legion, the back of the Legion, if you haven't already. We've got planted 80 feet of flower bed back there along the resource beds there. So
I felt guilty driving up there the other day to go in for a beer, and there you were. You had your clothes on, and you were just from head to toe, and you were still working, and you didn't come inside there, and I wasn't able to buy you a beer, but I promise you next time that'll happen. Good. Okay. Good on you for doing that. Great job. Thank you. All right. So BC Snowmobile Federation, we have a recommendation here, but before we do that, we have a delegation here right now, and there's some letters that are on your agenda. Take a good look at that. And so Donegal is here in order to have a chat with us regarding it. Once we get this presentation report from yourself, Donegal, then we'll make a decision. And Jennifer has actually put together a resolution as well. So you have the floor, young lady.
Thank you. And I do want to congratulate the communities in Bloom. I took a little drive around Sicamous today, and it looks wonderful. Doing a great job. So
you can remove that if you like.
I can.
No.
Wonderful.
Now we can hear you.
This is honestly the first time I've traveled in 14 months, I think.
Wow.
So thank you for being allowing me to come. This is getting pretty used to Zooming, so it's nice to see some happy faces. I'm not going to read the resolutions. I think I was included in your agenda package. I just wanted to talk a little bit about snowmobiling in BC and some of the challenges that we're facing. And I know that this table had a resolution come forward in March that was supported, and the BC Snowmobile Federation appreciates that support that we had then. But at that time, we had some more homework to do around exactly what we were looking for changes. And so these resolutions that are coming forward today are an accumulation of a committee of snowmobile clubs have worked on. I'm hoping that Jen will help us with the wording around resolutions and how they go forward, because it's been a long time since the has brought something forward. But yeah, in BC, snowmobiling represents 299 million. It represents 4,200, almost 300 jobs, 4,300 jobs. And at the local level, I know Natalie's going to speak to what it means for here in Sicamous, but Revelstoke had their economic impact study done a couple of years ago, and it's 32 million for their community, the snowmobiling brings. And Sicamous is 45 minutes down the road, correct me if I'm wrong, and something that is easily achievable from this. It's growing the snowmobiling to that level. One of the challenges that this club has, and many clubs in the province, is working with industry to maintain our access. We're not looking to block industry. Much of our access was made by industry, and we have many great working relationships with industry around the province. What we're looking for is that great relationship to be the standard for all managing all recreation in BC. So right now it's based on individual relationships that clubs and companies have created, and not necessarily on a mandate that they must consult or communicate with the club. So this season alone, Hunters Range experienced where they went out and set their snowmobile trail for the season. They had 3 days of operation with their groomer, got their trails all ready, hired their trail collectors, got ready for a great season, and logging went in on Friday and plowed their entire trail out to start logging on Monday. And the club was not aware that there was any logging going to be happening in their area for the season. So the club was out the hard money. The sledders that were coming had to change their plans, and hopefully they came here to Sicamous. But it happened here in Sicamous as well. It's happened in the past where a company from out of town, the club had done a lot of work to consult with the local companies here in town. I think you have four companies, and all of a sudden a block had been sold to a company, I believe out of Terrace it was at that time. It came in and was unaware of the Snowmobile Club operations. So these resolutions are our attempt to get into the forest planning process as a meaningful partner and require communication. We're just trying to be part of the planning and require them to communicate and work with us. Where communities can benefit from both industry and recreation. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So we just need, with proper planning, it can be both. I think the resolutions speak for themselves. The first one goes to all recreation. The first one, the Forest Range Practices Act, recreation is the only objective or the only value that does not have an objective. And so it's really important that a value be established for all recreation in BC. That gets you in the forest stewardship plan, and starts the process. We did consult, we had really limited time. We did circulate to other recreation groups, but we didn't have time to garner support from all of them. There was support in principle, but we didn't have time to garner the support letters from organizations like the Outdoor Recreation Council and others. But they are in support of the direction. The Forest Practices Board report that just came out on recreation said that identified this as a key gap. And this act is going to be updated this fall, and that's why we're rushing to get this to the finish line. They don't update them very often, and we have an opportunity to get this in there. The second resolution is snowmobile specific, and we're looking for safety considerations. We have instances where they go in and clear cut and create an avalanche path right onto our trails. It causes the club to have to create avalanche safety plans before they can send out their groomers. And quite often it costs them money to have those plans monitored by professional avalanche professionals, sorry. And so it's an ongoing cost that is incurred by the club after the company leaves. So in proper planning, they would either leave some trees on the actual face, or they would make deflection burns in a perfect world. And so we're asking for them to keep those safety considerations in mind in their planning. We're also asking for them to leave some cover over trails. We can have sections of trails that melt out super fast during when there's a cut block. So if they leave a little bit of cover, those trails can last months longer and extend our season well into April and even May if there's not cover on the trails. And then the third one is around communication. We want to know 6 months in advance that they are going to be going in. Doesn't mean we're going to stop them. It just means we want to know and be aware that it's happening so we don't incur costs, do marketing, go to the snow shows, and try to attract people for a trail that we're not going to have this year. So we can, do our staffing plans and arrange properly if we know what's happening. On our high value recreation trails like we have here in Sicamous, where they're an actual economic driver for the community, we're asking for actually a timing consideration of December 1st to March 31st. And the definition of high value is something we found out the government doesn't actually have a definition of what that is. So that's where government needs to do, is to define what a high value recreation trail is. And the BCSF feels it's not based on just money collected at the trail, but what it actually generates for the community. From the Snowmobile Club perspective, our economic impact study showed that snowmobile clubs actually collect 6% of what we're generating. So the money that's coming out of snowmobiling is not going into shareholders' pockets or even clubs. Clubs are all nonprofit associations. So that 6% we're collecting goes right back into the infrastructure, and the other 94% is being spent in communities around rural BC and the winter. So I'm hoping that this council can support our resolutions and will also help us in moving this forward with other communities around the province. I know that Natalie also wanted to do a quick presentation on Sicamous. I don't know if you want to do that now or go with the resolutions first.
Well, Natalie, you have the floor. You can join us now. We'd like to hear what you have to say as well. Thanks, Donegal. And we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. So just really briefly, just to kind of align with what Donegal was saying. When we first approached council in March with the draft resolution, I realized that we needed to quantify for the DOS council and staff what impact our club and this industry has on the community. And so we embarked on having an economic impact study for snowmobiling in Sicamous. And although that study hasn't been published yet, I do have preliminary numbers available to share with you today. The estimated incremental economic impact of snowmobile visitors in Sicamous for this past season during a pandemic, so where a lot of people were following restrictions and we had way less traffic, is that we had an output here in our community of just over $9.4 million. The combined direct, indirect, and induced federal tax generated a total of $755,000. The provincial tax was just over $1 million, and the municipal tax generated a total of $160,000. The tourism that snowmobiling brings to the municipality of Sicamous and the local CSRD is far reaching. It trickles down through the club's 13 direct employees, through the businesses who service these tourists, and consequently keep an estimated 70 members of our community employed in this tourism services year-round. It also impacts the general sense of community and largely puts Sicamous on the map as one of the top snowmobiling destinations in Canada, if not the world. The opportunities to grow this industry and utilize it as a tool for the growth of Sicamous and its surrounding areas are currently at the mercy of industrial trail closures and outdated legislation. We genuinely hope that the recognition and support for establishing changes to the way that these recreation trails are viewed and the weight that they are given within our province is appropriately here in the hands of this council. I believe, understand the duty that we have to our community in supporting this industry within this district and throughout British Columbia. And that's the crux. I thought I was going ahead of Donegal, but really it is critical to this community that we have winter tourism and snowmobiling drives that winter tourism. And I think that everyone here can recognize that. So hopefully we're moving this forward. And,
Right, thanks. Just don't sit down. Okay, so I'm going to ask councillors, do you have comments or questions of any one of the Councillor Bushel, you're up.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, Donegal, I want to thank you and your board of directors for the great work you did putting those resolutions together. They're actually bang on. You guys, did a really good job. I mean, we started something in February and didn't quite have it all. Didn't have our ducks in a row, and you went through the Force Practice Act and did all your homework with all your directors and did a really good job putting that together. It's, after running the Snowmobile Club for 10 years, having been lucky to have Stu and Natalie take over. Natalie looks after the administration and Stu looks after all the hands-on work with the snowcat operators and the collectors and the cabin work and stuff like that. You guys have done a great job this year, and I wanted to thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. But, looking at the challenges we went through over the past years growing, I think when we took over, there was about 6,500 sledders coming to town, and we just about broke the 2,000 or 20,000 range. And with COVID, we've settled back down into 18. I don't know what, I can't remember what the numbers were this year, but it'll keep growing. And you know, just when we don't have the ability to communicate with the forestry. Some forestry companies are really good. They'll leave a berm, a tree, so that your snow doesn't melt off, you know, that trail section. Where other ones will just come in and they'll just clear cut the trail section, and it'll be gone in the early March. And then you can't use that trail. You know, the groomers have to move way up the mountain and it becomes unusable. And when that happens, then you can't collect and then they stop coming. So it really has a snowball effect on the whole economy and in Sicamous. So it's really important that we do reach out and Evan, and I forwarded this on to Donegal, is that they are doing a review and to try to modernize the forest practice, and they're doing some work in that. And this is probably really good timing for us to try to get this to UBCM and get this resolution passed. And thank you guys for putting it together.
Thanks, Gord. Councilor Anderson, you're up.
Thanks. Thank you guys very much. We totally appreciate everything that you do. Natalie, and yours, economic impact didn't even include, it doesn't include where those folks are coming from. Like if they're coming from Edmonton, they're stopping in Hinton, they're stopping in, so they're dropping money all the way down. So, I mean, it's an industry that is an economic driver for the entire area. We're working on a hotel survey here and looking for hoteliers, because it's something else too. We want to keep those sledders here longer, have more for them to do. So that's really important too. So through economic development, we're working hard to do that. But yeah, thank you. Thank you both, for all three of you, for all that you do.
Thank you. Just to speak to that quickly, in our economic impact study, it showed that a sledder who's staying in their home community or traveling within an hour of their home community, spending $257 to go do that activity. Come stay overnight or multiple nights, the average they're spending is $1,500 per person when they're in that or on a snowmobile holiday. So getting those people to come to your community is key. They're big spenders, and they're spending money in the hotels, the bars, the restaurants, the grocery stores, and the gas stations. So it's really important to figure out how to get them to come and to stay.
Absolutely.
My comments on this, so the transition that's just taken place in Sicamous since councilors, and the difference between 5,000 to 6,000 sleds to now 20,000 sleds, and the hard work and the advocacy that you guys have brought forward to the District of Sicamous, it's done something to the community, and it's made us a 365-day-a-year community when it comes to tourism and economic gain. And from that, you're seeing some growth. So the hard work that you've done, and the Eagle Valley Snowmobile Club, and where we've gotten the different trails and so forth. But there is a change in the wind right now when it comes to Flinroe and the new forest practices codes, and this couldn't be a better time in order to bring this forward. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for the hard work you've done. And if there's no more comments from council, I'm going to read out this resolution, and we'll go from there. Any more comments from council at this stage? Okay, then I'm going to read out the resolution, and so this is it. Recommendation that the District of Sicamous support the BC Snowmobile Federation's resolution regarding the Forest Range Practices Act objectives and site level objectives for snowmobile trails, and that the resolution be sponsored by the district to the Union of BC Municipalities, and that the resolution be forwarded to all UBCM members, municipalities requesting their support. I need a mover. Councillor Bushel. I need a seconder. Councillor Malmus. Any more comments or questions on this? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, ladies.
And gentlemen.
All right. So now moving into development permit number 21-055 DP and development variance permit application number 21-055 DVP. It's the number 5 Highway 97A. Okay, there's a recommendation, and I'll just read this out and get this on the table, and I'll get Scott to report on it. That the District of Sicamous authorize and issue development permit number 21-55 DP and development variance permit number 21-055 DVP for legal subdivision 13 of section 19, township 21, range 7, west of the 6th Meridian, Kamloops Division, Yale District, except plans 1908 through F 788 14907 19077 30883 3525 and H 7415 Highway 97A4 are proposed 5 additional mobile sites. I need a mover on this. Councillor Evans, Councillor Malmus, Scott, you have the floor. Give us the report.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an application for a development permit and a development variance permit. Staff's recommending that they both be issued. Again, it's to consider an expansion of a mobile home park for 5 additional units. The property is located just in the 2 mile area. You can see the Sycamore Creek and then Graham Road, and then this property just south of Graham Road. And the area that they're looking at is to add the sites right here at the north side of the property. Right now, it's a area that was used for storage. They've cleaned it up a little bit, and they'd like to put the units there. Property is rural in the official community plan, and it is zoned R4, which is mobile home residential. As you can see, this is the drawing where they're proposing to put the 5 units. Property is about 3.4 hectares in size, 20 units per hectare is permitted, so they have capacity for many sites. I believe this would bring them up to 34, and they have capacity for about 60, so not quite at the density that they could be at. Should mention that the owner applicant Brent is on the line, so he will be available for questions if council has them. And it is influenced by Highway 97A, and we did recommend that they get in touch with Ministry of Transportation just to have a look at their access permit. That could be an issue for them to expand. The development permit speaks largely to the landscaping. So you can see on the drawing, they're looking at providing some shrubbery here along Graham Road, and then trees and grass area on the corner of Graham Road and the highway, and then continue the trees across the front, and then another grassy area and some grass at the back of the property. It's 2 meters of a buffered area on Graham Road. They're also one of the drawings on the development permit is just identifying 6% of open space, which is required in the zoning bylaw. And then another aspect is with these 5 units, they're all proposed to be new units. And one of the conditions of the permits is that they have natural building materials. That's a requirement in the multifamily development permit area. With the development variance permit, the variances are varying the setback from a controlled center line of a controlled access highway from 30 meters to 25.7 meters. They are outside the requirement for Ministry of Transportation for setbacks. This is our zoning bylaw that has that little bit extra. And then they're looking to vary the height of the cedars across the front from 0.9 meters to 1.2 meters. And then they wouldn't have anything within 6 meters of the intersection just for sight lines. And then reducing the 6 meter buffer to 1.5 meters. And then the access aisle, so that's the internal roadway, to reduce that from 8 meters to 6 meters. Here's a picture of the property. This is like when just when you're come off the highway and you're looking north towards where the area for the improvements are. And this is on Graham Road, looking from Graham Road south across the property. So you can see still 1 car that's stored in the area. So that's the area that would be the 5 mobile home units be located. And this is across the road, looking across Highway 97, just at the corner of Graham and Highway 97. We referred this internally for referrals. We had no objections from building inspector, bylaw enforcement officer, some comments from the engineering technologists, but general support, I guess. But again, some issues with the water may need to be upsized, and then access off Graham Road isn't recommended. No objection from the fire chief. We referred it out to property owners within 50 meters, and we didn't hear anything from any of the adjacent property owners. Again, it's I have to recommend that the development variance permit be issued. It's adding to the housing stock in the community is it's a good thing, and it's already a mobile home park, and the 5 additional units should actually improve the back corner where it was a storage yard.
Thank you. Councillor Evans, you have a question?
I was just going to comment. I was glad when we moved here 13 years ago for what my salary was that we could get a place in that park. We lived there for 7 years, and I'm excited about any possibility of more affordable housing for our community.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, and I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thanks, Scott. All right, and then we go to B under staff reports, BC Housing Affordable Home Ownership Program Memorandum of Understanding. There's a recommendation that the District of Sicamous Council enter into a memorandum of understanding with BC Housing for the Affordable Home Ownership Program. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, Councillor Ayres. Scott, give us a report on that as well.
And thank you, Chair. So this is the AHOP program. This MOU is kind of the first step where it would be an official partnership or official intention to enter a partnership with BC Housing and the District of Sicamous. The idea would be the next step is we'd find a partner, a development partner, and then we'd move towards a more formal agreement with some more terms outlined. This started with 7-Eleven Parksville. I think they started the conversation with BC Housing, and that conversation continuing. With this MOU, it doesn't mean that it has to be Parksville. It could be just about any other partner that wants to come forward or that we can find for this program. And the idea is, the developer gives up some profit. The local government provides some kind of bonus. It could be density bonus. It could be reduction of DCCs or building permits. And then the BC Housing helps them get favorable interest rates. And essentially that savings adds up to 10% of the value of the home. The homeowner doesn't have to put up that 10%, and it's put in a second mortgage, and then that helps someone get into the home. In, we'll say, 5 years when they go to sell the home, then that 10%, they would then contribute the 10% of the sale price to an affordable housing fund. It's slightly more complex than I've explained it, but best I can do. And yeah, we're recommending that we enter into this partnership. It's the first step, and then it would become more formalized as we find partners and actually come up with a way that we can contribute, whether it be through development cost charges or through some kind of other bonus that we can contribute.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Comments or question, Gord?
Through the chair, yeah, Scott, great work on this. This is something that the community really needs. And I've actually talked to Kelly about even taking a look at our tax exemption bylaw or tax incentive bylaw. Or maybe we include affordable housing in that, not just a hotel, but we could, somehow try to get apartments, rental apartments, and have some kind of tax incentive for that. And this goes along with the whole thing. So really good work putting this together.
All right, thanks. Any other comments from councillors before I call the question? Councillor McCabe, go ahead.
No, I think it's a great incentive. And the intent is for council to come up with some in-kind as opposed to cash. if we go down the line and enter into agreement with the housing and a third party. So, and that's a great idea if we can, that in kind might be some sort of, not just DCCs, but waive a tax exemption thing. So, no, yeah, I support it. I think it's great.
Thanks, Scott. So any other comments or questions from council? Okay, with that, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thanks, Scott. All right, we're moving on to the 2020 Statement of Financial Information. There's a recommendation that council approve the Statement of Financial Information for the year ended December 31st, 2020, and that the mayor be authorized to sign the 2020 Financial Statement of Information. I need a mover. Councillor Bushel, Councillor McCabe. Kelly, you want to give us a short report on this, and then I'll call a question.
Yes, most definitely. So I'm delighted to present the December 31st, 2020 Statement of Financial Information for the District of Sicamous. This is a requirement under the Financial Information Act that we make this public prior to June 30th of each and every year. It includes the audited financial statements, which you've all seen before. But most people look at this because it also includes a breakdown of the suppliers that we pay in excess of $25,000 in detail in alphabetical order. It also lists out staff remuneration in excess of $75,000, as well as council remuneration and expenses, as well as any severances that we've paid out to management. Yeah, and this is the report for you to approve today.
Thanks, Kelly. Any comments or questions in regards to the Statement of Financial Information? Councillor Bushel, go ahead.
Yeah, just really good work, Kelly, putting this together. It's always good to see every year, and it like it's a full disclosure thing, and the way you presented it looks really good. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the sense of humor. Okay, anyway, Councillor McCabe, you're up.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions on page 28 where it breaks down, over 75 or breaks down our suppliers. Brooks Down Bernard, that seems to be, I'll just name a few, and then if through the chair, if Kelly could. So Brooks Down Bernard, 700,000. And I recognize most of them, but Kerwood Lydell Consulting, 84, I was kind of curious about that one. And then Lamborn Environmental for 190. And then my last question was Twin Acres for a little over $500,000. If just curious what those expenditures were.
I love a good finance question, Councillor McCabe. So I'm happy to answer what I know off the top of my head. So Brook Down Bernard, those were for two property acquisitions. So those were the Main Street property acquisitions because we pay in trust to Brooks to the lawyer. So that's what those large amounts would be for. Kerwood Lydell Consulting. What do we use Kerwood for?
Waterfront.
The seawall.
Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and that's grant funded. Lamborn Environmental, is that what you had also asked?
Curious, yeah.
That's for the lagoon. That's for wastewater treatment plant upgrades.
Oh, okay.
That's for lagoon cleaning. And what was the last one?
Twin Acres.
Was for the hockey academy.
Oh, yes, that was for the hockey academy. Yes.
Well, just
Good catch.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Kelly? Usually when I'm signing these checks, I go in there when I think I have a concern, and there's always a really good answer. So thanks, Kelly. And so any other comments or questions before I call the question? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. All right. 2020 annual report, recommendation that the 2020 annual report be made available for public inspection and that the annual meeting be considered the report to be scheduled for July 14th, 2021. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, Councillor Evans. All right, Jen, give us a small report on this and we'll call the question.
Absolutely, through the chair. I'm also pleased to present a required annual report that we must do. This report must be made available for public inspection for 14 days before council actually considers and approves it. So this is the drafted annual report that's been prepared, and notice will be in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks. It'll be distributed on our website and social media, and just to reach out to our public for comment. And then at the annual meeting, if council sets that for July 14th, they can then consider the report and approve it.
Thank you. Comments or questions? All right. Comments? Extremely well done. Extremely well done by staff and very informative, and it just goes to show you how much we're accomplishing year by year. All right, any other comments or questions on this? Call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
It does look pretty good, hey?
All right. Notice of motion, Capel boat launch. Councillor McCabe, you wanted to talk about this. You have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to, excuse me. Bad sort. Just want to bounce off council with the Broom Bridge going ahead, maybe construction next year, tendering next year roughly. It's going to impact the Finlayson boat launch. We have a plan for Finlayson boat launch for an upgrade there. The Broom Bridge is going to impact that plan. And for a while, Finlayson boat launch is going to be closed for 4 weeks at a time, one stretch, I think, for 3 months, if I can remember. And we're trying to work with Ministry of Transportation to have an alternate boat launch during the construction of Broom Bridge. And we already have plans for Capel. So I'm suggesting to council that maybe we could ask staff to accelerate those plans. And maybe reach out to Ministry of Transportation to see if they'd help partner in the cost of that, because it's a direct result of their project that we have to accelerate the plan to have alternate access for not just our community, but for the entire region. And so I was thinking that pull some plans together. We got something done up by True in 2014. If we could have those updated to come up with some sort of maybe a Class D estimate, and use that document to approach both the Ministry of Transportation and the Columbia Shoe Shop Regional District, because it's an economic driver, not just for Sicamous, but for the entire region, which has been demonstrated in the past by our joint collaboration with the Economic Opportunity Fund in building our boat launch out in Old Town Bay. And it's unquestionably an economic driver. And I feel that we could probably get the support from a regional director from Area E, because that area is represented by at least 50 kilometers of shoreline that rely on the use of our boat launches to get to their properties. So there's precedent set. It supports the new official community plan that Area E is currently developing to provide access to the lake via boat launches, separate from docks, boat launches. Their official community plan that they're trying to move forward supports boat launches. There's precedent that it is an economic driver from past performance of our boat launch in Old Town. And I think there's identified need with the project from Broom Bridge. So I'm going to throw that out to council, that maybe it could pass some sort of resolution or direction that come up with a Class D estimate for Capel to focus on the improved boat launch, maybe a finger slip and additional parking. And see if we can get partners in with CSRD and Ministry of Transportation.
All right, comments or questions from council in regards to that recommendation? Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, I think it's time to like Malcolm says, accelerate it, because so we're ready for when they do the bridge. And I mean, maybe we can get highways to work on all of them. Kelly did reach out and gave us an updated plan for the bulb that was supposed to be there at the end. And I know Jeff has done some work on it too with Joe. So yeah, I think it's do at least get the cost estimates updated, and then we can go forward from there.
Okay. Thanks, Gord. Councillor Malmus, go ahead.
So there's, correct me if I'm wrong, $2 million or something for we got to raise Capel, the road itself. That was 3 boys. Was it 2 or 600,000? 600,000.
If $615,000 in a reserve for road and street.
Jumping 3 numbers back and forth. So we have the money to raise the road. The reason we didn't raise the road was because raising the road and not doing the boat launch seemed like a bad idea. The time
It's not me.
you quit crying.
Looking at me.
So raising the road is an issue. We have to widen the road. We're gonna try and put a turnaround at the end of it. And with the people, with the boats that they have and the trucks that they have, it's that there's not enough room there to actually make a turnaround. And then you want parking. Well, you're gonna end up with maybe 4 stalls. And that's a great thing. The boat launch does need to be done. I did talk with 3 boys down there at one time about a cost sharing in the dock because they need to replace their dock. And so, but our little seawall start needs to be a part of this project because that's your access down. So it's a little bigger than like the $200,000 it was for the boat launch at Water at Twin Anchors. Beautiful boat launch. We could put the same thing in there, but it needs to be pulled back. So there was quite a bit more work to it than if you leave it where it is, you're in the channel. That's what's causing the eddies and the silting in of the channel on the way down. You need to pull it back and let the water flush it out again. So it was a lot more involved than just putting a boat launch in. That's why we held off on doing the lift on the road. Was it Kerwood Liddell that did our positive? They did the flood mitigation and they've given us 4 or 5 designs. We applied for grant funding to start a small piece of the seawall. If we could find something for the part of the seawall to do the test section and put the boat launch in, lift the road, get as much as we can. I just really think that a bulb at the end, like you look at these trucks, you know, they're like mine or slightly smaller than mine, like the one your husband drives. And you put a 26-foot boat behind it. That turnaround is pretty restrictive area. But it's doable. We should do it. We should go along. I'm just saying that it's going to be a bigger number than initially perceived.
No, I appreciate where Councilor McCabe's coming on this and for our benefit and with what's going to happen in Finlayson and when the Bruin Bridge gets built, we need to be proactive on this. And so the recommendation is to look into what it would cost to improve that particular boat launch, and all good points, Councilor Malmas. But the resolution is probably around how are we going to support this and how are we going to fund this? And maybe we can get support from the EOF fund and the Ministry of Transportation. Do you want a resolution so we can carry this forward, or do you want to just work on this? Mr. Parliament, I'm just asking for your support here. What would you?
We got.
Because I think it's a really good idea as well.
No, staff has enough to move forward as per Councillor McKay's request. We're already working on the Finlayson boat launch and MOTI, and it's all in early design stage, but this is another one. And it's part of our public infrastructure.
Okay, good. Councillor McCabe, are you okay with that then?
I'm tickled pink.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, you've been looking.
Actually, Jeff is tickled.
Councillor Malmas a little bit. You need sunglasses to look at them. Okay. You're welcome. All right, so we don't need a resolution. Staff's got direction. We're good to go. Jen, you good to go with that?
I'm good to go with that.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. So there's a whole gauntlet of correspondence here. The Watsons regarding the Bruin Bridge railing. Does anybody comment on that at this stage? Councillor Malmus, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth to Sam Arm and I got across that bridge and it's just
Disaster.
they would put up those barricades. They put them up they might as well put them up and not take them down. Put them up at the beginning of the winter and say, look, we're gonna get you a helicopter ride to the other side because that's what, it's unsafe. It's not good. It's never been good. There was a semi-hit that they put up the barricades. The actual pedestrian crossing was closed for I think 8 months because they couldn't even get the railing that they needed to repair it with. So it's a disgrace. So
It's also extremely dangerous. That's what I'm concerned with more than anything else. But what's the resolution with this? I mean, what are we gonna do? Send a letter to the MOTI and when so we could do that, but what would what are we gonna request from them? What are they gonna do in order to make a difference at this stage? I'm not so sure. Councillor McCabe and Councillor Bushel.
Maybe just keep it at the local level and attach these letters and send our council support to our local road and bridge maintenance contractor. I'm sure they have a contractual obligation to open that. If they can't find the material, they have to get innovative and at least provide safe access for pedestrians. So we don't need to duke it out with MOTI, I don't think. I think try keeping it at the local road and bridge maintenance level with council support in these letters.
Okay.
Try that first, right?
All right. Councillor Bushel, you.
Yeah, I agree. It's gotta be fixed. I mean, I can't believe they can't put a railing in there. You can build a railing from scratch. Anybody can.
Fabricate one.
Just fabricate one, but saying they can't build one is not, that's just an excuse. So I think we have to keep pushing.
like playground equipment.
Councillor Evans, you're up.
Thank you. Yeah, and add to the impetus for the maintenance people that, you know, we got youth that had to walk home from the high school every day across that bridge. When I would be driving, I'd see those kids crossing that bridge. I just got nervous every time. It's very important. It's essential. They can't put it off anymore. And yeah, if it wasn't for union stuff or whatever, we'd have people fixing playgrounds and doing that work ourselves. So somebody's got to get on that.
Thank you. Do you need a resolution for that or you want to just,
I don't think we need a resolution.
would you?
No, it's okay.
You don't need one? Okay, good. But you're on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll own it.
That's good. Well, I haven't left, so we've got to turn to Jen. Mind you, she does that work anyway, so it's all good. Okay, thanks, Jen. All right, any more comments on that? Okay, hearing on. Thanks, Councillor McCabe. All right, so moving on to the Toski water connection fee correspondence regarding that. Comments or questions on that? Councillor Bushel, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair. Yeah, she called me one day and when I was out at 2 Mile and she asked me about hooking up water. She said that she found it hard to believe it was going to cost $1,600. I said, well, that's what it costs everybody. It does cost everybody $1,600 to hook up. And, you know, I said, and she said, is there any way around it? I said, there's no way around it. I mean, it has to go through council. So she was supposed to write a letter to council, but, and I asked her for it, but she had sent an email in, but she had a letter actually, but I never did see it. So she was away this week and said she would get it here Monday, but I don't think it'd come. Yeah. So anyways, I think maybe she saw I think they're hooking up water for waterways, I think, I'm not sure. And she saw them out there, so she wanted to get out there.
Houseboats, Sicamous houseboats.
Sicamous houseboats. That's all I can report.
Right, thanks, Gord. Any other comments on this? Okay, Councillor Anderson, you're up.
Well, if this is correspondence for action and every resident that got hooked up to water was charged $1,600, then we should just say, sort of, it's the charge, everyone. So you should send her a letter.
Okay, any other comments on that then? Go ahead, Mr. Parliament.
Just, you know, just for everyone's benefit, The promise of this council to bring water to all properties remains, and that includes the capital costs for the main trunk line and the distribution and the treatment of all potable water. What we're talking about here is an individual service, and it's the connection from the main to the house to the property, and that's always been borne by the resident as per the bylaw. And I just want to clarify that no, council is committed to bringing water to all properties. That means paying for the capital and that main trunk line, which is the very, very expensive part. And what this request is for the individual service. So just to clarify.
All right, thank you for that. Good point. Anything else in regards to this? All right, I think then that kind of clears that up. Okay, so now let's go in to see, there's correspondence for information. Now, there's a whole list here. So I'm going to ask council, rather than going at it one at a time, is there anything in this list that you would like to discuss? And if so, then bring it forward. You have the floor. You have a few minutes. We have 20 minutes before we have a delegation, so we have time to talk about just about anything here that you'd like. Councillor Evans, go ahead.
I just found it interesting and
I don't know why my
encouraging about the amount of people getting vaccinated. It's good. That's one of the reasons we're heading towards better days here. Keep it up. It's worth a sore arm.
Just the second one.
I don't have my computer doesn't show this, but I'd like to maybe talk a little bit about the Sicamous and District Chamber of Commerce and their new website, but I don't know that that's part of that correspondence or not. Jen's got my iPad.
I'm trying.
It's top of the list, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, no, I just took a look at their new website. It's really well done and very impressed. And there's a lot in there that is regarding marketing and just about anything you want to know when it comes to joining the chamber and the issues of the community and so forth. I think they've done a really good job of it. So, Councillor Bush, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, both Sheila and Carly are working close together and working on the maps together. And Carly sent out the new map that they're putting together at Sheila. And yeah, it's coming together really well. The crew are working really well together.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Pretty impressed with that website. So it's really advantageous for Sicamous. Okay, anything else?
And there was a letter in there from Deb Heap about the communities in bloom. Yeah, it's a good breakdown of everything she's been working on, and just want to thank
Deb, you want to comment on
Deb for everything.
I said to go a few weeks, I honestly don't remember what I always said, but like I say, the feature project is the Mitigation, so we'll get those bark quilts on the fence, and we've got 80 feet of flower bed planted and still working on some stuff with the red barn. So the project work looks good. And I'm working with Carol on the rest of it, so.
So Deb, how is your volunteer base working out?
Not too bad. I've got a couple of good solid volunteers. I've got a lady that takes care of the train bridge events for me. And as far as, Daryl's asked me about the and Cenotaph and a few other places, and I've had people do that for me. And the ladies at the Red Barn are taking care of those flower beds for me now, so it's not too bad.
And you're commenting in here on the Canadian military memorials, and where are you going with that?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So Veterans Affairs has added us to their website for the murals that we painted and barn quilts that we painted on the Red Barn. So if you go on the Veterans site and search for Sicamous, it, obviously the Senate tab comes up, but also our murals all come up and there's, she had asked me for some verbiage around each of them, which I gave her. So it's on their Canadian website.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else from council? Interior health and the acceleration of the COVID-19 vaccines throughout the region. I know that been very successful in Sicamous. Just about everybody that I know that wanted to get the vaccine has got it. And it's been really well organized, and now the mobile units are available as well. So you don't even have to register in order to get it done. So if you haven't got it done and you're considering it, it's available to you. So up to you. All right. Anything else? All right. Then that's it for now. And we're waiting for a delegation, Anna Martin from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities at 6:30, and she'll also be representing the Eagle Valley Seniors Housing Society in regarding the affordable housing program.
Recess?
Recess.
Is that in person or is it?
10-minute recess. Oh, 10-minute recess.
Oh, sorry.
Society.
We're starting with Director Martin.
Oh, you would, okay, so you would like to talk about the Federation of Canadian Municipalities first, and then we'll go into the other part of the delegation. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I thought while I'm coming here, I may as well kill two birds with one stone. So I'm here on behalf of the Canadian Federation of Municipalities to ask you to reconsider your decision to not renew your membership. I know that financially, all municipalities are stressing, but I believe that the value that you receive from your support, and by being a member, you are supporting the efforts of FCM. Many people feel that, you know, we've got the gas tax and, you know, everybody keeps talking about the gas tax, but that's an agreement that comes up for renewal. And we will be having to renew the gas tax in 2024. So I'm sure that they will be starting to go into negotiations within the next year. And it's always better when we have solid support. So in BC, we have been very proud of the fact that we have had all but one member join. And that one member, no matter what we've done, they just have not decided to, even though they appreciate what we do and benefit from what we do. But I'm here today to ask you if you would please reconsider. I think that Sicamous has, earned a lot of funding through the efforts of the FCM over the past many years, and in particular during these times of COVID, the negotiations with the federal government, for restart funding and for the extra bump up that was last year, it was directly in response to the efforts of the FCM executive, and I think that all across Canada, municipalities, benefit. So that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I would just ask that you, when you have a moment to give it some serious thought, if you would please reconsider. And that would be for us a sign of support for all of the work that's being done on behalf of local governments all across the country. So thank you very much.
I have a question, Rona. So with COVID going on and so forth across Canada, as the membership started to deplete because of most of this is now Zoom meetings and so forth, where is it when it comes to the overall picture, when it comes to FCM?
It's kind of up and down, because there's people that it seems like when you have people on the executive level, like, president, first vice, there seems to be really extra effort to make sure that there's good solid membership from wherever province or territory that they're coming from. So sometimes you lose some, but you gain some others. you know, in Saskatchewan, for instance, there's over 700 municipalities, and so it's very difficult to get everybody to be a member, but we certainly try. And we certainly want people to know that through, like, for instance, like committees like the Rural Forum, it doesn't matter if you're a small community, a rural community, unincorporated, or a major city. Your voice or your concerns are heard, and there's somebody speaking on your behalf at the table, and then at the bigger table. And then when we do have the opportunity to lobby government, you know, those voices collectively make a big noise. So it's like UBCM, and we have a resolution that's passed at the floor. And for instance, when it's passed unanimously and we go to the provincial government, we say we speak for all of BC. So when we go to federal government and the more membership we have, we can say we are a strong voice. We are the voice of local government. And I think that there's been a lot of effort put in by executive members, and they have done a very good job in representing all of us. So I don't expect you to make a decision today. I would just ask you to please review it.
Okay, thanks, Rona. Thanks. So moving on to the next delegation. So we have Rona, who's the chair of the Eagle Valley Housing Society. We have Fred Bush here, who's a director. We have Phaedra, and we have Dylan, right, from Urban Matters. So in behalf of this particular project and whatnot, Rona, you have the floor. We invited you, and you were up for the challenge. So let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, so I'm here representing the board, and I think some of our members are meeting in today because they didn't want to come and overcrowd your council chambers. First, I want to say that as a board of directors, we are passionate about this project. Our board, the mandate has always been in seniors housing, but as people that live in the community and have, you know, friends and family in the community, we know how everybody is struggling to find decent, safe, warm accommodation that is reasonably priced. So I want you to know that we are passionate about this project, all aspects of the project. So I'm going to turn it over to Dylan now, and Dylan is going to kind of walk you through the history of the project, and also present to you some of the ideas that have come forward. And I'm sure that he would appreciate any questions that you have. And I'm sure that you could ask the questions during the presentation. Is that correct, Dylan? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So Dylan, please come forward.
Trying to move forward, or
yeah,
is it the one that there's narrow and then there's a blank one?
Yeah,
the blank one is the one to press. Plugged into the TV. Should it be plugged into your computer?
Nope.
Really?
TV.
Thank you for having us here tonight to talk about this exciting project for Sicamous. My name is Dylan Bohan. I'm a community planner working with Urban Systems and also two companies under one umbrella. I've been working on this project for the last 7 or 8 months or so, and it's been an interesting process. Like Rona, I'm passionate about this kind of project. I grew up with a single mother and grew up in subpar accommodations, to say the least. And so I'm excited about this potential for Sicamous. And I see a lot of value here, thinking about it from my own perspective as a child. I look at Eagle Valley being a landlord for people, and I think they would do a good job. I know there are some challenges for this project, and I will go through some of those tonight in terms of the design, land assembly, those kinds of things. Welcome your questions throughout the presentation, and I'll go through, what I intend to do is go through what is proposed development, review the project history, restate the District of Sicamous commitments and make sure that we're all on the same page with respect to those, and discuss potential land assembly and access options based on conceptual designs. So starting with, why is this project needed? When we look at seniors housing in Sicamous, and got these statistics from Phaedra earlier this week, there's 36 applications for housing for the Haven. I think there's there's fewer than 36 units there. So you understand that there has to be quite a bit of turnover to enable people to get into housing. So there is a shortage of seniors housing, but it hasn't been articulated through any formal statistical information that we've been able to track in the last few days. A lot of anecdotal evidence suggesting that there's a need for affordable family housing in Sicamous as well. Rona and Phaedra were sharing some examples of families that are leaving town due to the lack of housing that's suitable for families that may be on tighter incomes. So there's a shortage of housing, and there's poor quality of some housing in town. When we look at the project and what was proposed back in 2018, looking at 20 seniors housing units, we're looking at placing them in a 3 to 4 story building on the Eagle Valley property, the existing Eagle Valley property. And we're looking at 16 units for families and younger people with mobility challenges. Those would be in a stacked townhouse arrangement, and those would be the ones that would be going on the Healing Center site, the Main Street site. And in terms of your partners on this project, BC Housing is obviously a project funder. We have the District of Sicamous, which has supported the original BC Housing proposal and is providing a portion of land. It's also providing some other incentives that are not insignificant in terms of the waiving of development fees. The Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing Society, they are part of that submission of the proposal. They're providing a portion of their land for this project, which wasn't part of the original proposal, but fits in with their land use there. And they'll be the operator of the housing. So over the long term, they'll operate this housing, both the family housing and the new seniors housing. So in terms of the project history, and this might be familiar with you, for you, the District of Sicamous, in collaboration with Urban Matters and Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing Society, prepared an application to BC Housing during one of their call-outs. So they take in proposals for projects and they evaluate them. The approval came in early 2019, I understand. At the time, we were looking at the Finlayson Street site. I'll show a map of that site. So that was a 4-acre site roughly on Finlayson Street. The project proposal at the time, the concept plans that were submitted with proposal, little cottages for the seniors housing and townhouses for the family housing, and it was going to be in this kind of integrated fashion with a lot of green space, places for people to walk and recreate. That proposal obviously fell through in terms of using the Finlayson Street site. So then we had to transition to the Main Street site in roughly starting in March 2020. There's this kind of overlap period, continuing to look at Finlayson to make sure that that wasn't a suitable option, but also looking at a secondary option on Main Street. Roughly in August last year, Main Street site became the preferred location. And there's a lot of discussion about what the land assembly would look like there. So this map, and it's a little hard to see on these screens. The area in pink or purple is the Finlayson site. That's the 3.9 acre site. The area in green is now the Main Street site. So 417, 425, and 433 Main Street, as well as the portion of Eagle Valley's existing land base that will be used for the seniors portion of the project. Any questions? So in terms of your council commitments, you said in a letter, 1 acre for the housing, for the family housing units, 1 acre for the healing center, and a ½ acre for shared parking. So you got 2.5 acres on those 3 parcels of land that you're going to combine, 1 acre for housing, 1 acre for the healing center, and a ½ acre for shared parking. When we look at what the housing society might need for shared parking, it's pretty minimal. It's maybe 8 to 10 parking stalls, depending on what the design looks like. But it will be beneficial to making sure that there's just some flex parking there for them. The commitment to waive DCC's building development permit fees and service connection fees. It's not insignificant. This is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's really helpful to the project. And the desire to use the east parcel of land, so the land behind 425 and 433 Main Street, use that land for housing and having separate access from the healing centers, not having access to the family housing through Main Street, but rather having access to the family housing, the Gordon Mackey Lane through Eagle Valley's existing site. And that's based on the recent resolutions that were passed. So you're probably familiar with this map, and this illustrates the various land assemblies. So we understand that your original resolution suggested housing on that east portion of the land assembly, so 425, 433 Main Street. We're hoping that tonight we can have a bit of a discussion on that and see what would be the preferred option. We look at the east portion, and this is coming from largely from the perspective of the Housing Society, but we're also looking at it from the perspective of the District of Sicamous and the vision for the healing center. The advantages of using that east portion of the site, so 425 and 433 Main Street for the family housing, is it obviously complies with your original land allocation. It's closer to Main Street for some of the housing, so that's beneficial there. Especially now that you're really looking at developing a really high quality Main Street as part of your downtown revitalization plans. And maybe creation of more north-south green space that allows seniors to get to Main Street by walking, scooters, wheelchairs, so some accessibility advantages there. In terms of disadvantages, we're going to talk with our urban designers on this project. Having this land assembly such as it is kind of limits some of the flexibility on the healing center site. Now that might be subjective, I'll admit that, but the parcel layout probably provides you less flexibility in how you use the site for the healing center, possible commercial development in the future, parking, and other components of the healing center vision. We've heard just recently that there's maybe a desire to put a sweat lodge or something like that on the site, which makes a ton of sense given your partnership with Slexine. So we think it might limit some of that flexibility. A disadvantage from the perspective of the Housing Society is that the parking lot borders the southern boundary. Now there probably will be a fence there, I would imagine, but still close to some of the existing housing in the Haven. So just from that perspective, it's possible that it makes it less appealing to the residents of the Haven. Housing on the south portion of the site, so using 417, 425, and 433 Main Street. I just want to reiterate, we're staying within a 1 acre footprint on both these options. So it's not like we're asking for more land as part of this. Some of the advantages here is it creates a more defined housing area with the seniors and families in close proximity. When we show the full concept, you'll see that the family housing and the seniors housing will share green space. There's no parking getting in the way. There's There's no streets getting in the way of that. You can share space in that regard. That really helps with some of the intergenerational integration between the family housing and the seniors. It creates a more contiguous green space in that area for the seniors and the family housing. That's beneficial from that integration, but it's also beneficial from the perspective of the housing society in terms of maintenance. It just enables easier maintenance for that. The family housing provides a separation from the healing center. That's valuable in the sense that the housing society, where possible, would like to keep these two uses separate. There's obviously value to having a healing center nearby, but there's also value to having some sort of physical separation between the two uses. It improves the site efficiency for the healing center. That's, once again, like I said, that might be subjective, but we think it works out better from the perspective of the healing center and the possible uses on the site. And it might be potentially easier to fit a commercial building on the site if desired. I understand that there's potentially some allied health services that are more commercial in nature that have some interest in being located in close proximity to the healing center. That's maybe a potential option for development for the district, maybe another revenue stream, something to consider in that regard. The disadvantage, the prime disadvantage is it requires a different land assembly than what was originally proposed. So we know we'd be asking you to change what was in one of the original resolutions. But from the perspective of the housing society, we think that this works. It's more functional for their uses. And we think there's probably some benefits for the healing center development. Any questions?
Any questions from council at this stage? Councillor McCabe, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, your illustrations in the bottom right corner don't quite show the whole shred, if you will, like the seniors portion and the access kind of thing. So it's hard to get the full picture without the shred showing the whole use, if you will.
Yeah, it'll make sense. Next couple of slides deal with the access issue, and then after that, we're going to show the full concepts.
Okay, carry on.
So, access to family housing. So this is the second issue that we wanted to bring up and discuss. Feel that the original resolution suggested that access to family housing should be through Gordon Mackey Lane, through Eagle Valley's existing land. That makes sense, but we're also interested in exploring the possibility of having access to family housing through the healing center property. Both would be via an easement. You suggested some design elements, and so we're not talking about full right of way here. We're not talking about necessarily having sidewalks on both sides of the street. We're not really talking about a street, we're talking about a driveway. So you probably have something that fits within 10-meter wide area that would include 2 travel lanes that are 3 to 3.5 meters wide, sidewalk that's 2 meters wide, and maybe a boulevard that's a meter wide. That would provide, having it narrower like that provides the traffic calming you desire, whether you separate this or have it all together. I think even for the healing center, you want to keep traffic moving pretty slowly through that area. You could have traffic calming measures such as speed bumps, stop signs, raised crosswalks, something to consider in that regard. In terms of the healing center and having access to, so we're talking just about the family housing here. Access to the seniors housing will be through Gordon Mackey Lane. So that's going to be on, the seniors housing is going to be on Eagle Valley's existing property. We envision having access through there to see that on concept plans that we'll bring up in a moment. But having access through the healing center site, some of the advantages, it leverages the shared parking more effectively. So the dedicated shared parking areas would share access and not have separate access. So if you're to think this through, if we have access through Gordon Mackey Lane to the family housing, the desire from the perspective of Eagle Valley is to make sure that that shared access, if it does go through their land, doesn't connect into the healing center, because they don't necessarily want healing center product traffic going through the seniors area. So you could envision a scenario where someone's trying to drop off their kids at their front door, but they have to use the shared parking. They get to their front door, parking's all occupied, so they have to drive all the way back out through Gordon Mackey Lane, back through onto Chouchwa, back to Main Street, and back through the healing center. The chances of that happening are probably not high, but it could happen, and there's a bit of disjointedness there. The other advantage, and this is the primary advantage, it keeps the family traffic separate from the seniors. So you have vulnerable pedestrians in that area, particularly as Eagle Valley considers incorporating dementia care into their future offerings on the site. The less that we can have traffic, or the more that we can mitigate traffic in that area, I think the better for the seniors. The disadvantages, and there are some, it requires an easement through the District of Sicamous and through the healing center. So you have to make sure that there's that legal instrument that provides an easement to the family traffic or family housing. It directs more accessing and egressing traffic to Main Street. So you're going to have the healing center traffic, but you're also going to have traffic from the family housing. Now you can conceive of a scenario where the family housing traffic is going to be using that healing center access early in the morning, later in the evening, and the healing center traffic will be there primarily during the day. So the overlap there might not be as significant. And then you have the family housing traffic mixing with the healing center traffic. So frankly, much the same that Eagle Valley doesn't want the family housing traffic going through their site. The healing center and District of Sicamous might not want family housing going through their site. So we just have to acknowledge that. Now, having the access through Eagle Valley site, some of the advantages, keeps the easements with the housing society. And so it's all contained, can be made to look like a proper entrance to the housing rather than driving through a parking lot. So, you know, it is a bit awkward from a design perspective to have people driving through a parking lot to get to their houses. It's not uncommon in some contexts. There's some traffic from the Main Street entrance, so I know you're concerned about maintaining your downtown revitalization and keeping traffic volumes on the access is relatively contained. So this would keep some of that traffic away from there. It may open some options for infrastructure servicing. So if you extend the water line from Gordon Mackey Lane up to the family housing, not that it makes it that much easier, but it can be a consideration. Some of the disadvantages, the concerns of increasing traffic in an area where seniors walk and use scooters. So there's concerns, and I think they're valid from the perspective of the board on that. The loss of land for Eagle Valley Senior Housing Society for future development. So I know we're only talking about a 10-meter easement, but the land that they have is precious. They have future development ideas in mind. And so the more that we encroach on that land for something like an access, the more the land that they lose for future development. More paved area to construct and maintain. Could be some awkward access configuration through the Eagle Valley site, paralleling some of the existing access lanes. And the shared parking becomes more disjointed, like I talked about earlier, due to the separate access points. So you have access to the family housing from Gordon Mackey Lane, but you also have access to shared parking through Main Street. It's just a bit disjointed from the perspective of being able to utilize that shared parking efficiently and effectively. Any questions before we move on to the concepts themselves?
I don't see any hands up. Go ahead.
So there's 4 concepts I'm going to just kind of quickly walk you through. And so this brings the full picture to light. We have the Main Street access to the family housing. So we'd be accessing that family housing from Main Street. And you'd have the East Land Assembly. So using 417 425 and 433 Main Street sites, the back halves of those sites. Like I said, the advantage for that is having the access from Main Street. It gives you access into the housing society land. I think disadvantage is that from a perspective of the healing center, it might limit some of your design options when you're looking at what you might envision for the use of that site. The access to the seniors housing in the bottom right-hand side is through Gordon Mackey Lane. In this concept, we have the seniors building running north-south with parking behind it. And we don't have a shared access to the family housing here. So that access is separated. As you can see, the parking for the family housing, it cuts off the family housing from the seniors housing. You also have the parking at the back part of the healing center. It's right adjacent to the haven there, so less desirable for the people living at the haven. That makes sense.
Comments or questions from council? Yeah, keep going.
So this one is a Main Street access to the family housing, so there's shared access to the family housing through Main Street, through the healing center, but using the South Land Assembly. This one is probably the preferred concept from the perspective of the Eagle Valley Board. You see the family housing and the seniors housing being well integrated with one another. There's no real roads or laneways kind of getting in the way of them walking between the two sites, so they can share some of the amenities that they might have there. The access to the family housing is through Main Street. It's a kind of a straight shot that provides access to the parking for the healing center, and it also provides access to the family housing, and it enables you to use the shared parking more effectively with that shared access point. In this concept, we have the commercial building running along Main Street, and then the healing center kind of forming an L shape. And then we just have some amenity area, which could possibly be sweat lodge or other culturally important amenities for a sweat scene as part of this, or it could be some just park space or outdoor space for the healing center. Yeah, so, from the perspective of the board, it makes a lot of sense. What we've shown for the seniors housing down on the right-hand side is building the building so that you could expand onto it in the future. So BC Housing provided as a suggestion. It enables future expansion to be pretty effective, efficient. We'd probably put the elevator right in the middle there, so it'd start off right on the side of the building. And if you do this future expansion, it would be in the middle of that building. So a really interesting option. I know some people have talked about having an access to Paradise Lane or Paradise Avenue. What we've envisioned is this access to the parking area there becomes the central spine to access the remainder of Eagle Valley's land. Yeah.
Bob, go ahead.
Dylan, would you be so kind as to grab that pointer in the corner of the room there? And just repeat what you just said, pointing at the screen so we can see it? That'd be great, thanks.
Got a preferred screen. So this is the seniors housing. Sorry, I don't want to poke it through the screen here. This is the seniors housing. The area that's kind of in the shaded red would be a future expansion of the seniors housing. This is a suggestion by BC Housing that we make it in this orientation so that we could expand in the future. So we probably put the elevator somewhere like right here, just to provide access into the building. This laneway and access into the parking. I know some people have talked about having access all the way to Paradise and providing access into here. We're suggesting that you could phase that in. Whether you'd actually connect to Paradise would be a decision that could be made down the road, but this could become the central spine for more development here and obviously here in the future. This is a family housing here. Sorry. We would suggest that access would come down through the healing center over to here. And so you'd have your shared parking in this area. But what it would do is provide a straight shot into the family housing. Family housing provides a bit of a buffer between the healing center and the haven here. So you're not having parking right up against the fence here for the haven. Now, you're getting another consultant to deal with the healing center site. So we're just providing some suggestions, but you need to explore that as part of your process. But we just had one concept where we put a commercial building along Main Street fitting in with your Main Street revitalization ideas. And then the healing center is kind of an L-shaped coming back this way. And then we had some amenity space in front. So it takes advantage of that L-shaped. And this is why we think that this land assembly, having the housing on the south portion of land, might make more sense from the perspective of the District of Sicamous. It's subjective, I'll admit that. But I think there's more, it feels like there's more site flexibility. You can have a more efficient use of the site in the future for the healing center. And this is more efficient for Eagle Valley. So it's kind of a win-win situation if you buy into that logic. This in here would be a playground or some other amenity space for the townhouses, and there'd be shared community garden area. That makes sense? Yeah.
You can flip that stick ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, Dylan, in this shred here, could you explain the breakdown of the properties? I know it's 417, 425, 433. The breakdown of the 1 acre that we're giving the housing society and a shared half acre for parking.
So this is the 1 acre that's for the housing society. The shared parking, frankly, can be anywhere, preferably contiguous to the site. But it could be this half acre over here. Could be this half acre over here. Like I said earlier in the presentation, the housing society probably needs maybe 8 to 10 parking stalls out of that shared parking. So certainly don't need to necessarily share a full half acre, though I think that's generous on the part of the district. But
go ahead, Malcolm.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, sorry, but to me, this shred looks like 417 has a building on it. Green space on 425, if you will, or shared 417, and then 433 has a building on it. So you've got structures on 417 and 425 and 433. So that equals a half acre in itself. I don't, maybe it's not to scale, I'm not sure.
These are, so you look at it, and maybe this is the easiest one. This is about 1/3 of an acre. This is about 1/3 of an acre. This is about 1/3 of an acre. So when we're coming across here, these are 3 properties that we're using 1/3 of an acre of each.
Okay,
so
that helps. Thank you.
So we were very conscious to stick within the 1 acre. Yeah.
Counselor Balmas, go ahead.
Through the chair, there's a dotted line there on the property line that heads towards Paradise. Up your building, no, your buildings there on the property, so there's a dotted line that goes through there. I think that's a easement or for a future road right away, if I'm not mistaken. It's 10 meters wide.
Yeah.
Which means you can't build on it. And so now you push your building up against the side of it. And now you're gonna make a laneway on the other side. You're gonna take another 10 meters on the other side. And then it may, at some point in the future, connect to Paradise. Why would you not shuffle that little road you got there to the other side of the building and get to Paradise and solve your access, our access, your parking? And actually, when you talk to emergency services, they would like to get in there quicker than drive around the block to get in there. The ambulance building is right across the street from Paradise. It just, our OCP, which I was a part of, does not involve any access off Main Street. And so we keep talking about the access off Main Street. There's a viable option there. And sorry, Gordon Mackey Lane is a public Sicamous road, but not dedicated to the seniors. So we asked about considerations of another option. We asked about Paradise. You now have a picture of a road that you say may get to Paradise in the future. And if you're considering may get to Paradise in the future, then it may should be on the property line going out that way on where we already have a 10 meter right away. So just a comment, like we didn't look at all the options.
So I guess the question back then would be, how are you accessing parking to the healing center? It's not through Main Street.
Well,
Do you have some more slides, Dylan?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that might answer some questions.
It's not gonna answer that question though.
Yeah, Councillor Anderson, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Well, I have a comment. I thought that we made a decision to put the healing center on Main Street.
That's what I thought.
It's not on Main Street. No.
Councillor Bushel, go ahead.
I'll use the pointer, or I'll just use my hand. I think Jeff got a good point there. This is all, you got the walkway coming through here, which really, it does go through the trees here, which is great. But a lot of people come across here, and this is not very easy to go across here. This is kind of unused space in here. You got a parking lot here, and then you have unused space here. If you did turn the building and move it this way and take your pedestrian traffic out this way with the road, with the road to Paradise, is this an easement right away through here too? So is it a district statutory right away, or what is that?
It's a road allowance right from Paradise through to Shuswap.
So then you could run your road all the way straight through, and you could have, maybe if you turn this way, and you had your parking in the backside here, you could have just a one-way, so nobody could come in here. You wouldn't get any traffic coming in the seniors' way. The traffic would all stay here. That way, I don't know, it's something to think about. Yeah.
Good thing you brought your mask.
Yeah, it works well in your hand. Your mask works well in your hand.
So before we go any further, Dylan, carry on with the rest of the concepts, and maybe we'll have a discussion about some of the things that we might see that might be beneficial as well. So let's finish off your presentation.
So this is not necessarily, I'll be clear, this is not necessarily preferred by the perspective of the housing society, that we didn't provide access to the family housing through their land. It would be this lane. We've chicaned it so that there'd be traffic calming. in there, which is important to the housing society. There would be raised crosswalks, so providing access through there. And then having this land at the south end, and then the healing center and the shared parking. We don't know what the land arrangement would be, but this shows you the acre for, or the half acre for shared park and the acre for the healing center. The concern from the perspective of the housing society is they provide, you're losing a bit of land for development here, and you're having more separation from family housing and the seniors housing. So there's concerns about it, potentially workable. The challenge with this, and like I discussed earlier, is say you're getting into your shared parking now, if you had access to, well, no, it wouldn't work that way. Getting into your shared parking, it doesn't work as effectively from the perspective of the housing society, because you're getting access to your family housing through Gordon Mackey Lane. If these parking stalls are filled up, then you have to drive all the way back out here and get access to the shared parking. So there'd be separate accesses, it'd be disjointed. Whether that's a major consideration or not, that remains to be determined, but it's less functional.
Is that option what? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that option what? I've seen a couple were labeled A and C. Is that?
We have to go away from those labels, because we have to go away from those labels. Just
I'm just
use these labels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may.
Councillor Monmouth, go ahead.
Through the chair, the Eagle Valley Housing Society, if you were to look at that whole map, Gordon Mackey Lane, like, does the Eagle Valley Housing Society control the Haven? Does it control the senior center? Does it control, because there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of property, the fourth piece of property being the one you're building on. So it shows 4 separate pieces of property, but are they all part of the?
It's not the housing society controls the Haven, which is low income housing, 28 units. It controls the lodge, which is supportive housing, and it controls the manor, and then it owns the rest of the property. The Seniors Activity Center is owned by a nonprofit society.
Okay, thank you for that.
One more.
Just one quick.
Go ahead, Councillor Mo.
Thank you through the chair. Never ends.
Not Monmouth.
In this one, in the top right corner, so I guess the northeast corner of the housing there. Yeah, or right where the black lane is there. Why couldn't you punch into that shared parking area so they don't have to go out and around?
Because then that would provide access through the healing center through Gordon Mackey Lane.
No, it would still be, we would have access, we as in sort of the healing center, off of Main to that shared parking, and you would have access to that shared parking off the northeast corner of the family housing. Just punch that road in there. Like connect, if you could point your pointer there. No, to the northeast corner of the housing, yeah. So why couldn't you just tap a road into that? No, not all the way through.
I know
There, yeah.
I think the challenge, and whether this actually manifests itself or not. Yeah, healing center traffic coming into shared parking. Now they didn't have access through here. Whether they take it or not is.
Yeah, don't know why they were.
But there would be that possibility.
It was just a question.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I understand where you're coming from. It's just that opens up that possibility of, and like I said, this is an easement, so it's not designed to take very much traffic whatsoever, so. Yeah,
Well, I mean, right at the northeast corner there where you had your pointer where it's suggesting tap in, I mean, 2 signs facing Main Street saying private access only. I mean,
yeah, that's a possibility. This is final option. Then this is access to Gordon Mackey Lane to the family housing. And then, so this is using the east portion of the land assembly. So you'd have this laneway providing access into the family housing. Once again, you're occupying some of this land that could be developed, using it for a laneway. Some traffic calming measures to keep traffic going slow. So it's similar to the other option, just different configuration, shared parking over here, healing center over here. Get some green space in here. Going back to your comment, Councillor McCabe, the other aspect is if you had shared parking and you had access to a shared parking through this, the other thing that would happen is you might get family housing traffic coming through the Main Street access anyways as well. So there is a flip side to that. I understand what you're saying, and it is something that we looked at on our original concepts. We actually had it open and might need a physical barrier there.
Is that your last slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councillor McCabe and Rona, you have some more comments, and then Councillor Balmas.
is it me first or what?
Go ahead, Councillor McCabe, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. When you went back to the history of this collaboration that we're working on, you didn't really touch on the original reason for the RFP in the first place. You picked it up after the award, if you will, or our collaboration that we jointly applied for. But you didn't speak to the intent of BC Housing's putting out the RFP in the first place, which was to integrate young families and seniors in the housing project. All these concepts keep them separate. It seems to me it's going against the intent of the RFP. I've read the seniors housing needs assessment, and the BC Housing, your seniors housing society needs assessment says that young families and seniors are to be inclusive. When you had your AGM to ask your members if they're willing to have young families, although your mandate already stated that, you just went back to the board. That was part of the board then to reaffirm that your members approved of that, and they said yes, seniors should be inclusive with young families. So it seems like the housing society is not meeting the needs of the intent of the RFP, the intent of what the members said yes to, or their own needs assessment, by not integrating the young families with the seniors. In my opinion. So do you think you could sell any of these charrettes to BC Housing to say, because you're still waiting from BC Housing for final approval? And I support something, and I want to have a decision made this evening that when the Housing Society walks out, we as a group are in agreement to, yes, let's do this and let's move forward with it. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be negative.
Yes, I mean, just from a design perspective, and this is why we like this option, is it does allow that integration to happen more fluid. There's no real physical barriers to the integration. Yes, they're on separate sites right now. Part of that's legal, part of that's just the nature of a seniors building. We were told to buy BC housing that we needed to build up. So when we had that original concept of cottages in the proposal, they said, nowadays, we're not going to fund something like that. You need to go up. And so that's why we've moved towards a 3 to 4 story apartment building.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off, and I agree that, you know, because of the time span involved, 2018 to today, you know, 3 years sort of thing, properties has shown 25% just this 1 year. And so when we were originally trying to get Finlayson, our budget was 1,000. And by the time the courts filtered out and the landowner filtered out, we searched for something, a reliable alternative. Our budget went from 600,000 to $1 million. So, but what we're offering, bringing to the table now is jump from trying to get Finlayson for 600,000, which was above fair market value, to today offering less land, but at a cost of $1 million to, you know, the local taxpayers. So we're trying here, and I see what BC Housing says by having to go up, because we're paying $1 million for trying to give you an acre and a shared half acre for parking, when before we're 600,000 for 3.8 acres.
Yeah. So that's, you know, we have definitely been listening to that desire to integrate seniors and families into this design as much as possible. We do that with some of the green space. We think there's this is playground equipment. We think it's going to be great that seniors are right here and here, able to leverage that playground equipment when the grandkids are in town. They can take their kids there, so it's not just the exclusive use of the townhouse owners or townhouse occupants. So that's why, you know, we prefer this option of using the southern land as opposed to this option, because it keeps all the housing units within close proximity to the seniors housing, and respects that need to put the seniors housing in a stacked apartment building, so to speak. You know, the original concept would have been great, having little cottages with townhouses beside them would have been awesome. But didn't have the land space for it, and we didn't have the ultimately the funding from BC Housing.
There's something that's still kind of a wild card, because the concept and design and form character of the actual medical clinic or healing center, whatever you like to call it, is still it's still part of the mystery on how we're going to support this. So that still has to be resolved yet before we move forward. But I can understand where Councillor McCabe is, and probably all of the councillors here, is that we'd like to see this thing move forward in one manner or another. So it's still a bit challenging. Councillor Malmus, you had a comment.
I'd like to hold off till I hear what Director Martin has to say.
Okay, so you were on the board, Malcolm, when we went to our membership to ask for approval to be involved in this.
I think so, yeah.
And the whole project was going to be off of Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing land.
At that time, yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're dealing with this. And the bulk of the project is going to be on the society's land, 20 units. I think that during the charrette, we come up with some really nice ideas where it would provide good, safe, quality housing for seniors, with amenity space within the building. And as is right here, you can see that there would be a close connection to the family housing right here. You have to understand that we are going ahead with this project. We're supporting this project, but we have some of our seniors that are feeling rather vulnerable. They don't know what's going to happen. Some of them don't necessarily like the idea of young children being there, and we're trying to convince them that this is a really good thing. The reason that we don't want access to the family housing through there is because the average age of the residents is 80+ years old. They're frail when they're walking. If they get startled, they could fall and break their hips or worse. And so we're trying everything that we can do to keep them safe. So that is something that's really important to us, that how do we keep them safe? Yes, you can put in, measures to slow down traffic, but if you've got a teenage boy or girl or whipping through there to do whatever, I mean, they don't care if dad's car bounces 3 feet off the road. It's dad's car, they don't have to pay for it, so that's why it's really important that we have this separation. We think that this lends itself better. There's kind of a clearly defined area. And then you have this land here to say whoever your consultant is in designing the healing center this is the land that you can go forward on. And if we make this decision to go forward with this, then we can go to BC Housing and say, this is what we're ready to go ahead with. If we did very minimally talk about something here. We want to do a master development plan for the rest of our land. We don't really want to give up any more. I mean, we're contributing a lot of land to this project now, and we appreciate what the District of Sicamous is contributing to this project as well, with the development cost charges and the servicing agreements that will come in place. We hope that there will be another calling, and once this is done, we can go out and get more housing. But we don't know what the rest of this land is going to do. And we all know that the Haven was built in the 70s. It's providing nice, warm, safe housing for seniors in the community now. But how long is it going to do that? We have to do a really good assessment of what those structures are like and what the life expectancy is of them. And okay, so are we going to be building something here and then moving people over here and redeveloping this? That's what the master development plan is going to tell us. And that will take some time to do. But we need housing now, right now. I mean, if it could be built tomorrow, that would be fantastic, but we know that's not going to happen. We have a wait list for our housing for the seniors that doesn't get much shorter. It only gets shorter if somebody passes away and their name bounces off the list. But we all know people that are moving out of the community because they cannot find housing. And so I don't understand why you are so opposed to access coming off of Main Street for 16 people, 16 homes. And maybe some of those people will not drive because it is homes for people that are disabled as well. And I recognize the fact that there could be families that have 2 vehicles. So there would be more than that. But the scenario, I mean, Dylan said, well, it wouldn't happen very often. Well, how many people here have children? And when they were young, when you went grocery shopping and you were trying to bring the groceries in and the kids in, and if you can't leave your car close to your house and you've got to go all the way around and park your car, what do you do with your kids? That's 5 minutes to drive around there and come back in. So you can park over there because the parking stalls are full. So I'd ask you to consider that. That's a huge thing, especially in the middle of winter when you're trying to do all that stuff, and most of the moms here would recognize that. So the board has, we changed a few things. We tried to make, we had another building in there, and then we said, well, we'll put the amenity building for this area inside the building because we want each building to have its own amenity area. Just like, the Haven has the common room and the lodge has the center that everybody can go to in the middle, and the manor has a room where people can go and meet. So this unit here will have an amenity room so that if a family is coming and they want to have a family dinner with their parents, they can, book that space. And the same thing here. If the families are here and they want to have a birthday party, that will be inside. It won't be a separate building. So we managed to squash things up a little bit there. We think it's important to have this green space, and we think it's important for this connectivity so that you can see that it is joined. It is a project together. So,
just a comment. So when we first got elected to council, this is like 6 years ago or whatever. So the very first thing that this council did was they went after and they improved and went through the process of putting together an official community plan. 2 councillors, are a planning department, and several members of the community. Several public consultations, whiteboards, meetings in this room, walking the community street by street, foot by foot. And part of that official community plan, based on what's taken place in Sicamous for, generations, is very poor planning in a lot of cases, right? And part of that plan was no access off of Main Street. So that's the challenge that council has right now, based on what took place in the past. Not that your concept or your design and whatnot and your philosophy and your theories on this are not something to consider, because they are. But that's the challenge that council has had with this right from the get-go when it comes to access off of Main Street, based on our official community plan and all the work that we've done, to coordinate the community plan. So
anticipate more traffic coming to the housing center than to the healing center, because the healing center will be accessing off of Main Street.
yeah, well, true enough, but are we going to put a roadway right through there? Is that what we're going to do? I don't know, but anyway, we need to have a conversation around this. I don't know whether we'll make a decision tonight, but I respect every different concept here and whatnot, and I think council does as well. And maybe there's somewhat, we can have that conversation, and maybe we can come up with a compromise. Anyway, that's kind of part of the the issues that we have right now based on what took place in the past. Councillor Malmus, you're next. Go ahead.
I might go up and just.
We need to make a decision.
So far with this project, you've tried to incorporate our project, which you should have left. Well, you got a design in here and you're suspecting that we need access to parking. We haven't sent it out to anybody. We don't even have a clue what it's going to look like. So you are asking for a road which might detriment exactly what we're trying to do with our community. So I implore you to listen. You have a roadway here. How wide is this roadway?
That's a parking lot, so.
No, you got a road with parking stalls on both sides. So I'm gonna go 10 meters, 10 meters, and 10 meters. You got 30 meters there.
No,
Or what do you got there?
it'd be probably a 7 meter parking stall on the other side, maybe a 6 meter aisle.
So
13,
there's
20 meters.
that line right there is a 10 meter easement. Why would you not incorporate that into this roadway? You can't use it anyway, but for parking, it'd be perfectly acceptable. And your road, you're moving your building down here, now all this is up here. In fact, you would gain that much free space that you're talking about asphalting already and not wanting to give up this property. So why would you not take this parking and put it over there and put your road in here and gain everything you want, and you get access into here? It doesn't change anything. It's not interfering with any of the rest of your project over here. You're already giving it up here. Why would you not take the 10 meters that exist to do it? Well, you're already using this here. You got this, and this, and you got 10 meters there that you're giving up with your building. So if you use that 10 meter roadway and put your parking in, take this and put it over here, you're gonna gain that 10 meters.
It's something to consider. I will disagree with that. The thing that does though is it sort of neuters that land to the south for future development.
How does it neuter the land to the south?
Because right now, we can use this parking for development in this cell here. If you put that
You
road
have
up
a
there.
road parking right here already.
Yeah, but that's dedicated over there. So.
I'm just asking you to
Yeah, no, I will get it.
have a look at another option that there's 10 meters you can't use for anything. You've offset the building by 10 meters from the property line that you could have had your parking on, your 7 meter parking. 3 meters towards your roadway, and then, so you're 50% of the land you're taking now. And then you're talking about, well, it may extend it sometime to Paradise. Well, this would accomplish all of that.
Decision tonight.
I think, and we can look at that option. I think the idea of this, like possibly extending to Paradise in the future, it may or may not connect. You make a really good point about BC ambulance wanting access through here. But this enables it to go in a more phased motion manner. So you do this, we can phase it in and develop this phase, and it's cheaper from the perspective of the funding agencies rather than extending a bunch of road that doesn't.
It's just an option. I mean,
Yeah.
it behooves me why you would take 10 meter setback and leave it as empty space.
Yeah, no, get it.
Dylan and Jeff, just for a minute, Mr. Bush, you wanted to weigh in on this, and thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go back and give you some history. I'm probably the only person on the board, maybe the only person alive who still remembers when this was this 10 meters that Councillor Melmos is talking about and Councillor McKay. This was done by council in probably 1997, 1998, when the lodge was being built. And for whatever reason, and I was a member of council at that time, but I was a very junior member of council at that time, and they didn't even ask me whether this was a good idea or not. And at the time, it seemed like something way out there that was never going to happen anyhow. But the way the bylaw was written at the time, and it may have changed since then, was that if the Eagle Valley properties are developed and all the properties to the north of the Eagle Valley are developed, then each party would have to give up half of a roadway. Well, none of these properties on the north side of that line have really developed yet, or have done anything different. The apartment building was there at the time already, so that's not a new development. There's the trailer park, that's probably not going to go. So to talk about this as being a road allowance, I don't believe technically that it is a road allowance. Am I correct, Mr. Parliament?
Well, it's a statutory road right now at 10 meters. It's basically half, but it is a statutory road.
It is a statutory road.
Yes.
It is a road allowance.
It's just not wide enough. We need more taking to build a urban standard as per our subdivision servicing bylaw.
But the way the bylaw was written now, it may have changed, but at the time it said that if both sides of the line are developed, then it becomes a full road allowance. But until that time, it is not. You can't claim it as a road allowance. Now, I guess the district could take it over if they wish, use their authority to do that. But at the present time, it's just a line on a map.
Correct. It's just the line. It's still an SRW, but it is a line, and it's only the half width of a standard urban road. We'd have to take another equal taking from Eagle Valley to convert that into a proper road with sidewalks and curb, etc.
So then we'd be giving up more land.
If we built it to an urban standard, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
And
you
we
could.
contributed, we weren't supposed to be contributing any land, and now we would be contributing more land. So, Councillor Malwas, just in respect to your comments about us having comments on your project, this was just filler space, because we know that the land will be used for whatever your project is. We know that you haven't done anything with it, but the way you're talking now makes me afraid that we can't do anything until you have got some concept, which could be how long?
Well, but that is the point, Director Martin, that you're taking the back half of a piece of property that exists and the front half is always for a wellness center. That's what we actually purchased the property for. It just happened that the deal didn't work out. So the district considered moving it as a last option. And now it is the last option. There's a $3.6 million grant waiting for you to build out what your vision is for the seniors and for the board of the assisted housing. And so you're not giving up any more land. If you take your parking and road and move it to the other side where you.
With me, if we have to build a road, we're having to give up more land. Mr. Parliament just agreed with me that we would have to give up more land because we would need more land than this 10-meter easement.
What is that on the south side of the building, Director?
But the point is, I guess, is I'm afraid that you're saying that we can't do anything until you make your decision about what you're going to do here.
I just asked generally, could we see a conceptual drawing of what that building would look like with a road access off of Paradise?
We're at least 6 months out, Rona, to answer your question there.
So does that mean that we are 6 months?
No, because I don't think BC Housing is going to wait much
Well,
longer.
that's my point. So, you know.
We have to make a decision without knowing our charrette. That's something council just has to understand.
So if you make the decision that, okay, we want you behind the dentist's office, that's it. And we go away and we figure that out. That's not our preferred option. But if you say you can have this acre here, which makes sense to us because it makes it a unit, then we go and design that. And we come back to you with you know, more concrete plans. But, you know, if you're saying we can't do anything until you make the decision about your healing center, and you're telling me that it's 6 months out, that's a long ways.
At least for.
Yeah, and that makes me afraid that we could lose this project.
I think there's, if I may, I think there's two issues that we're grappling with. One is the land assembly, whether it's this or this, kind of stated our preference for this.
I like that preference.
Yeah, so there's that. That might be easy, like, if I may, I think that might be easier to get to an agreement on. The access is the one that's the challenge, right? And so, and I can't speak on behalf of the board right now. I can't speak on behalf of the district, but that is something that maybe we can work out. If we can get confirmation on something like this as a starting point, and then we talk about access arrangements either here, because you're gonna, like, I think from the perspective of the board and from our perspective, when we look at this project, totally understand why you want to keep limit access or eliminate access on Main Street. But given the size of the healing center, you're gonna need some parking there, right? And there's gonna be a shared parking arrangement here between the healing center and the housing society. So there's gotta be access to that somewhere. And so I guess that's the question that remains to be determined is, and I guess we've always just assumed it would be coming from Main Street because it doesn't look like there's very many other options.
Mr. Parliament, you had a comment?
No, I'm just, again, as per the subdivision servicing bylaw, for any urban road to an urban standard, which is a road for both directions, you're gonna need 20 meters. You have 10. So I just want to confirm that. No different than the preferred access we're trying to work off on Eagle Valley for the campground off Old Town Road. That's a 20-meter urban road that we're looking at possibly acquiring. Anyways, I believe the real question, council, that Eagle Valley is asking, and please, I know Jen is listening, Rona, Kaya. I guess the question Eagle Valley is asking is this. We submitted an application to meet the RFP back in September of 2018, where we went after 4 acres of land and we committed to gift 4 acres of land. And no fault of the district or Eagle Valley, we were unable to secure that 4 acres. Now we're down to basically gifting 1.5 acres, which means Eagle Valley was promised at one time 4, and now they're down to 1.5. They lost 2.5 acres, and so they decided to step to the plate, which I thought was a bold move, and dedicate 1 acre of their land. What's troubling Eagle Valley, and these are my discussions with both BC Housing and Jen and Urban Matters, I'm not trying to pick sides here, is that the DOS needs access off Main Street to access their healing center regardless. whether we get rid of the red building, the commercial building, and keep the healing center on Main Street, any parking on Main Street is going to be for visitors and guests, but staff parking and service and commercial service vehicles and that are going to have to access the back of the building. And we're going to have parking. So all Eagle Valley is saying, let's arrive at a compromise. Let's do a Southland Assembly. We will direct all access to the seniors off Gord Mackey. Please allow us to direct the 16 units of family off Main Street because you have to access it anyways. If our position as per the OCP was absolutely no access on the Main Street, we wouldn't be putting the healing center there because there's no access off Main Street. We do need access off Main Street to access the healing center. All Eagle Valley is asking for is a compromise. Please allow us for those 16 units, whether it's a one-way or a horseshoe or some kind of design that maybe our new consultants, our new proponents that we're going to hire can work with Urban Systems and Matters to come up with a compromise. That's what I'm hearing. And that's what's frustrating Eagle Valley. And so I think Eagle Valley would understand the no access off Main Street if there was no healing center and it was just for commercial and we wanted all the patrons and visitors to be just on Main Street. Then I think we'd be looking at another option. But because we have to go anyways, can we not just combine shared parking with a simple laneway, not a 20-meter, correct, Dylan? Not a 20-meter road, but a 10-meter driveway, a linear park for the scooters, the pedestrian, and also for one vehicle, because it's only one way for both commercial vehicles and people residing in the 16 units. You know, in conclusion, we're very close. It is a compromise. My fear has always been, and it's shared by Jen, is the status of BC housing. You know, there are projects being rolled out every day in the province of BC, and they have a lot of demand for dollars, and we want to secure this. I think this all started when we were unable to get the 4 acres, which is unfortunate, and now we're scrambling to make it work. I just want to remind council, I can guarantee you our new proponent who we assigned to build the healing center will be absolutely incorporating access off Main Street to service our healing center and parking. That's without question. Is there a compromise there? Thank you.
All right, Councillor Anderson.
I had a different question, but now that Evan's done his spiel. So if we're coming off Main Street to go in behind the medical center, does it have to be 10 meters? Or is it just, I don't understand the single driveway into the back parking lot, people accessing off Main Street and exiting off. I don't understand.
Oh, it'd be similar to what Dr. Bruce has. It's called just a simple horseshoe.
So just around
a one way, right? You know, maybe there's something we can have our proponents, when I say our proponent, our lead consultant work, but we're going to need access to the back of the building for parking and service vehicles for the healing center regardless.
Go ahead, Colleen.
But just back to Jeff's point, I don't think any of council is disagreeing with the layout of the housing. Like, I think we all think it's going to work great. And as far as the healing center and that portion up there, I think everybody thinks, go ahead, you go ahead, we'll figure that out. But Jeff, to your point, just so I understand, so there has to be 10 meters off Paradise, right in front of the housing, the senior housing. But if you take the parking, I think what you're saying is if you take the parking off the back and put it on the front, you're getting that. Is that what you're saying? So you're not losing more land, you're not losing land.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
But if you have to build a road, then you are. Because it's 20 meters.
Right, Councillor Malmus.
If I might just go back to that, I guess. I think if you ask for a vote, that layout of the building structures is the preferred one, as it is your preferred one. We don't have an issue with that. The issue is 100% to do with access. Dylan, seems how you're doing the drawings, you can't give me accurate measurements. So can you not just take and move that building back? If you don't, how does the lane work? Gordon Mackey Lane, how wide is Gordon Mackey Lane?
It's way more than 10 meters for sure.
but it's not 20 if it's.
No, it's just called a lane.
Yeah.
It's a road.
But there's a way that you can do a laneway that incorporates and you're the guy from Urban Matters or Urban Systems or whatever. You could look at what it is off of Paradise, because the more density that you gain on that property, the more likelihood you're going to need the ambulance services to get in there. The EMS said that they would like to have an access that they went straight in there. That's their wording. So why would you want to wait and move it? Now you put a building there, you've actually totally eliminated that access point.
I guess probably when one of the, when we're talking about all this, one of the conversations that was had with the District of Sicamous, and somebody just messaged us now, is that that easement, it was suggested that that easement would be given back to us because we had given the land for the building, so then that easement is gone. So we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, well, that would have to come to council, and it's the first that I've heard of it.
I think to answer a few of your questions that I made, you know, if this is 10 meters and I seem to recall that it is, you know, you can conceivably do some sort of easement. My biggest concern is you're running into a fairly inefficient use of the land, to be honest, unless because you're not going to be able to double stack that use of the road, unlike what we're doing here. And so you're building a road along a property line. Now, if we're able to develop into this area, and who knows, maybe that happens in the future, that would make a lot of sense. But we're not even close to being there yet. And so that'd be my concern. And we develop a concept so that we can illustrate this and show this for sure if that's the desire of council. And if that would help clear up and kind of provide a visual illustration of what I'm talking about. It's just from a land efficiency perspective, this feels like it works better. Now, notwithstanding what you're saying about having emergency access, you know, it's great. It's also only 500 meters or so from the ambulance station to Coronaki Lane. Obviously, you want to get there as fast as you can, but I'm pretty sure the way it is now is within that existing level of service.
Councillor McCabe, go ahead.
I was hoping to see, and I didn't want to influence what the society brought forward as shreds, but I was hoping to see our road allowance, because when you do title search, it's under the District of Sicamous, and it is, we've done a title search and it is 10 meters and it is a road allowance that connects Shuswap to Paradise. Why can't there be a one-way option? Come on, off of Paradise, that way the ambulance has direct access to all the seniors, and it's just one way. You have to, the seniors have to, if you want, you could have them access off of Gordon Mackey if you still want that way. But for the young families, there's a road already there. It's just not built, and it's only 10 meters wide. So if you had it one way coming off of Paradise all the way through to Shuswap, one way, the families could access their housing units off of Paradise, but they exit onto Shuswap. No big deal. Direct access for the ambulance to all your facilities. The road allowance is there. No one's given up additional property because it's a one-way. Seniors housing is not losing any more property. We're not giving up any more. The road allowance exists. I was surprised. I was thinking that you guys might come up with a one-way option off of Paradise right through to Shuswap. No one's losing any more land.
I think that opens it up to being a shortcut for everybody wanting to go through there, and people will use it to cut through to Shuswap that have no business going through there. Like the number of people that walk through there now, I mean, if you sit there and watch the number of people that cut through there to access their homes or whatever, people will drive through there. So they don't have to go through the downtown. They'll cut through there. And then that puts the seniors at more risk.
Well, that's a possibility, along with a lot of other good possibilities that can be created from that. I was just saying, I'm surprised not to see that as a concept.
Talking going down here and
yeah, no, just keep going. Go from east to west. Yeah. The road.
I think the challenge is, if you look at a northern photo, an aerial photo, you have the driveways for the Haven, they're already poking out into that laneway.
There would be details ironed out for sure, but minor in scope on the overall picture.
And I think we've talked about wanting to make sure that these are integrated. This creates, and I'm not disagreeing that it's not a compelling option, but it does create a bit of a barrier between the family housing and the seniors housing there.
I'm not saying it was my preferred option or anything. I just throwing it out there because it's an idea that wasn't.
The other thing, I'm sorry, is that it requires that this building's gonna have to get set back further, so we're losing available land there. All right.
Anderson, you had a point?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, good.
I still think we need to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
For not recognized. Thank you through the chair. Like I said earlier, I think we need to make a decision tonight, us as a group. I'm not saying council, I mean, housing society and council. And we need to move forward, and I don't think we can even wait 2 more weeks.
I don't think that we can make a decision on behalf of our board because our board is not here.
Well, aren't you coming with a request for a preferred option?
Well, the preferred option is here, but I don't expect you to make a decision. I expect you to have some discussion about it. I don't think that we want to be, we've made a presentation to you. We've offered ourselves open for questions, and I think we've tried to our very best to explain why we want it to be this option here. I think if you have further questions, you can reach out to us and we'll certainly answer them. But I mean, we have some questions here from your counselors where they want to have some further concepts done. So
I'm not so sure if I sense that. I'm sorry. I think
Councillor Malmas asked about that paradise option. He asked Dylan to come up with something there. So, I mean, I think that you're maybe being a bit premature, although it's, on site,
And I appreciate that. Okay, Councillor Malmas, go ahead.
Through the chair, as far as your grant funding goes, I mean, if this is your preferred option, I personally don't have an issue with it. The issue is strictly to do with access. And I think that there's opportunity to explore alternative accesses. But if this is your preferred charrette that you'd like to move forward with, like you may move building the running red and the one that's the future one, that's not carved in stone yet. And I don't think that by saying this is what you want to do, that you're now telling the housing society that, yes, this is what we want to do. It's just the access needs a little more discussion. So if there was a method to do this and that did it, if you agree to discuss the access openly, whether it be your property or our property, because our staff put together the time and energy to put in the grant application. We're going to do the DCCs and the land and the legal on it. We're giving up property tax, my estimate, about $12,000 a year for another 100 years. So it was prime real estate in downtown Sicamous that's not developed yet. And we're getting it. So this is costing the district taxpayers continuously, and it's a good project, but the access is critical to us. So if you.
I believe your CAO was very good in saying you're going to be accessing off of Main Street anyhow.
That's not determined yet.
Well, how are you going to access it then?
Councillor McCabe, thanks, Councillor Malmas, and a couple more comments and then we're going to end this meeting, but
I agree.
we've got some decisions to make. So Councillor McCabe, you're up.
I agree with Evan's comments that it's just like Dr. Bruce's dentist office. They come in one side of the building, they go out the other. So it's one way in, one way out. And that provides access. I like to shred. I don't like stuff off Main Street. But we have to make a decision, and I don't think we should stall it. I think, we're never going to have a shred quick enough to make a decision of what our configuration looks like. I I think we need to make a decision tonight, and I think that's the preferred option. We have to make a decision without knowing what our charrette is. And on top of what Councillor Malman said, we have to do rezoning to rezone that for residential, because it's highway or downtown core commercial right now. So we're rezoning the down value, but we're working together. There's room to do a wraparound, whatever building configuration we come up with the healing center. I think enough's enough, and I think we're ready. Sorry, I'm still speaking. And I'm sorry,
Could you also not do an amendment to the official community plan that would allow?
well, I wasn't finished speaking. I had the floor.
Alan Roanoke, go ahead.
I'm suggesting that, yes, it's going to take amendment to the OCP. We're going to have to rezone their property. It's not just DCCs and subdivision, it's rezoning and amendment to the OCP. But I'm saying we got to move forward and do this. Make a decision. There's enough information there to know that we're going to need access off Main Street, I think, for the housing. This charrette right here, and I'm trying to be open-minded here. This is the cheapest option for the district as far as future costs as we move forward. Because once we pick a charrette, then we have to sit down as a group together and hammer out the terms of reference for access and who pays for it. Well, we know there's a little bit of money in your grant, but that you want to save that for buildings, not for access. So we're probably going to end up paying for whatever access is decided. The district is probably going to end up paying for that. This is the cheapest concept for the district to be paying for the access. Because like Evan said, we're already going to have a horseshoe thing around our healing center. Bingo, you got access to the parking lot. There's your shared access to 16 families. I think we have enough information. I'm sorry to put it to a vote tonight, and let's do this. This is their cheapest option to move forward as far as access goes.
Thank you, Councillor McGave, Councillor Anderson, and then I'm going to end this, and we're going to make a decision if that's all right with your board and yourself, Rona. So, Councillor Anderson.
I actually don't want to speak. I want to hear from Scott because he's been putting up his hand and we're ignoring our planner.
Well, I think Dylan wants to leave here tonight with like a land assembly, and so they can go back, and I think the goal would be then you start the detailed design and look at, where the services are going to go, where the access can go, if what's possible. And it sounds to me like council likes this assembly with the 1 acre of land at the south end, and then the shared the shared parking behind the dentist's office. And I think as far as servicing goes, probably keeping the housing to the south probably works better. But I don't know if access needs to be answered tonight, but I think probably land assembly does. So if council's gonna choose to make a decision or not, then I don't know if it's critical that the access be sorted out tonight.
Councillor Malmas, go ahead.
That's what I was trying to get to. That's what I said initially, that land configuration, if it's a land assembly thing, that's fine. But I do not want to include access in it tonight. The land assembly, I have no issues with. But the access, there are a couple other options besides what we mentioned. It gives them a time to actually look at it and measure it out and actually calculate if you're losing any land access in Paradise. I'm just suggesting that, come back with something that the district has asked for, and instead of, and like it's been said, we're going to end up paying for it regardless of how this works out. So if we're going to pay for it, then we're going to have a say. My personal opinion. That's what I would like. I don't want to just throw more tax dollars against the wall. So
this question, would you pay for this access in Paradise?
Well, most likely, if we're going to pay off of Main Street, we're going to pay for that one. We don't know what our front end's going to look like. So if you need a land assembly to get your money guaranteed and get your final design, does access to the property critical?
No, but we do, like, from a design perspective, we do need to know, not right away, because there's still some due diligence stuff that we have to do. We still have to do an environmental site assessment. You have to do some site topography.
So you're a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months,
Possibly,
3 months.
but then we'd have to develop these, this new concept. I guess the question, and the thing that when Councillor McKay said this is the cheapest option, I agree, because whether it's this or something like that, you're building it anyways. Whereas this is all new pavement that would only be required. I don't have a number off the top of my head about how much that is, but it's a number that's not insignificant. And so with respect to BC Housing's process, they've said that they will grant $3.6 million to the project. But that's not a firm commitment. We still have to update pro formas. And if this project comes out and is drastically more expensive, so that's why we had to go from the cottages to the 3-story apartment building, is that we had to. They said likely we wouldn't fund that, and so there's still a process to get the final commitment of funding for the capital build and operation. So I just want you to be mindful of that. So when Councillor McKay talks about being the cheapest options, that's something we're actually considering as part of this, is what is going to be efficient from a cost perspective.
Go ahead, Evan.
Need the pointer just for a second. Thanks. What about this? If we direct Dylan, I'm sensing we should take this off. The commercial building.
For now.
Let's take it off. Let's take it off. So that frees up some space. And then, access, one way here, one way out, or vice versa, some kind of a U, and then come back to council.
I still would like to see the one off Paradise. I'd like them to actually calculate out how much land loss they have, because I'm looking at the road and the parking on both sides, and I'm looking at your 10-meter setback that they're building down there. And I'm going, there's no way that they're saving any land by not using 10 meters that you can't use anyway.
If you gave us back the easement, then we could move the building over.
And I wouldn't go for that, sorry.
Well, why not?
We might want a walkway through there.
Well, true, although there is a walkway just down on the other side. That's very well used.
I think to entertain that, we can put that together, that option, and we can talk about the advantages and disadvantages if that's helpful to council as a whole. Yeah, we can do that. I think it's nice that we're coming to sensing we're coming to some consensus on the land assembly, and that's a starting point here. Like I said, we do need to advance on the access. It's not 2 weeks, but it's also not 2 months. Right? We need some certainty on that and get going on some of this stuff. So.
Yeah, the complication is the access. So I think that we've had enough conversation around this. We've seen all of your plans and the charrettes and whatnot. Thank you very much, Chair Martin, for giving us your take, and Fred as well. So we have some decisions to make, and we'll have to figure it out. I kind of have to agree with Councillor McCabe. We need to make a decision fairly quickly on this so we can, get BC Housing to confirm. And so that's the challenge. So councillors, what would you like to do at this particular stage? Is there something that you recognize here that you would like to recommend, or is that would you prefer to have a little bit more time to digest this? Councillor Malms, go ahead.
Through the chair, as I said, the land charrette looks fine to me. Dylan has suggested that, they have to do their assembly of their buildings and go back and then make a presentation to the BC Housing Society, BC Housing, and then find out if you even get the money. You may not even get the money. This might all be a mute discussion.
We have to get to detailed design before we know if we're getting the money or not. So we have to advance this. So we do need certainty on the access before we go back to BC Housing to get confirmation on the capital dollars.
They've been very generous with us. their commitment. I mean, this is a project that they would like to see go ahead. But, you know, at some point in time, they may just lose to.
Mr. Parliament, you wanted to, yeah, I can see that you're. Okay.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can move on from here, knowing that we're all pretty much in agreement with the land assembly, and you're gonna need a couple weeks. We're gonna need a little time to talk about access, but we'll get it to you. And I think that we can sort that out. And I agree with Mr. Parliament that we've got some options. So that's what I think. Let's just get her done.
Yeah, I tend to agree. All right.
Haven't heard from Brian at all.
Thank you.
I've had a lot of thoughts, and I've heard them echoed in a lot of the statements here this evening. I found particularly interesting how we're having some trouble reconciling the current safety needs of the residents of the Haven with what might be suitable for future access of that property once it fills out for everybody. And so I'm thinking of the future in mind, and definitely I can say that it's easy to come to a consensus on the assembly, I think, but access does sound very difficult.
Rona,
I'm good. Thank you for your.
last words.
I mean, this is a project that we, you know, it's a partnership that we've been working on together for quite some time. And as I've said to you before, our board is very passionate about this project, and we would love for it to go forward to try and keep as many people in the community as we possibly can. So I think we presented our case, and so we don't need to make our decision. We will go back and talk about your comments and questions tonight. I think some of our membership has zoomed in, and so they've heard some of the comments, and we'll be discussing this.
I have to agree. I think not only are you guys passionate about it, but you can see we went from plan A to plan B, and we wanted to make this work, and lots of suggestions. I know Evan's passionate about it as well, or staff is, and so forth. So yeah, we have some decisions to make, and we'll have a little bit more dialogue around this, and we'll be back to you as soon as we possibly can. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we possibly set some timelines here? Because I think it is time sensitive.
Yeah, we can.
So Dylan, I think the ball might be in your court to maybe flesh out some more access options, because we seem to be in agreement with the land assembly. So the quicker you get something back to us, the quicker we can make a decision, I think is, yeah, I shouldn't speak for council, but so what kind of turnaround can you come back and throw something at us? So
yeah, talk to our designer, but if you could maybe do that or directly to me, give me the access options that you want us to put some concepts together for. I think with respect to you on Main Street or whatever, I think from the perspective of the board, not as concerned about what the access looks like, whether it's a U or one access that's two-way. We could design it, but I think you're also hiring someone to do that. But with respect to Paradise, that's something we would tackle if that's what the council desires.
Certainly.
Go ahead.
I think that was the only other option that was discussed that we wanted to see was something off of Paradise. We said that we're receptive to maybe a U off of Main, but to help in our decision, we want to flesh out something off of Paradise. I think that was the only other request from council here.
So you need do you want the U design and like we can throw a quick concept showing the U, that's not a problem.
No,
Paradise, and we'll put together some designs of each.
I think as a board though, we need some clarity on what actually Paradise is. And you know, what Fred has said, we need to have some clarity about that. So, and what's the expectation? Is it a laneway, a driveway, or a roadway?
Yeah.
Because that is a whole bunch of different things. Okay, so we need to have some history on this easement and how it was gained and what the, you know, the decision making was, so that then my board can discuss it and provide you with
Okay.
the ability
Okay.
to Jen.
Okay, thanks, Rona. Okay, Bob.
Nothing. It's good.
All right, one last comment, Councilor McCabe.
Dylan, again, I can't speak for council, but I don't think you have to put any time or resources on access off me. Right?
I just want to make sure there's like, the only thing I'm thinking is that you guys need a visual comparison between the two.
No,
we don't.
So does that mean that you're not open to looking at access?
No, we want to have a comparison and we don't have that yet right now.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's night.
thanks to all of you, and thanks for all of you that have zoomed in on as well, so we'll get this figured out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks.
Thanks, Phaedra.
Sleep good.
All right, so I guess there's some action elements here. Does council want to discuss this anymore?
Nope.
No.
Let's have a special meeting.
Okay, and so they'll get back to us, so that's where we're at with it, so, and thanks for your patience, and so I'm going to recommend that the regular council meeting adjourned at 8:12.
I think the air conditioning kicked off.
Councilor Malmus, carries, all in favor. We're out of here. Thanks, Brian, for stepping in and listening to all of this. Hopefully we can get a decision made soon.